All right, good evening, everyone. It's 5 o'clock, so I will call the Hudsonville Public Schools Board of Education special meeting to order for March 4th of 2024. First up is approval of our agenda. So moved. Dawn, support from Nick. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Recognition of visitors and hearing of people present.
Nobody signed up to speak.
Next up is our Michigan School Board Association Board Self-Assessment Training. And I would like to welcome Frank, and I cannot say your name.
That's Lawani, so.
Lawani, okay. I'm glad I gave it a try. Welcome to our meeting.
I'll just not right. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just giving her taking all this time.
Got two articles. Don't hit that one. Okay, we're going to start with board self-assessment, but one of the things I think, one of the greatest things that we've got that I make sure is part of my meetings is what I'm going to call Pledge of Allegiance. To us, the reason we're all here is the ability to go ahead, we're all voted in. We're one of the few offices that doesn't say R, D, I, anything, we're all here for one great thing, and that's our kids, right? And that's things that we get to find out 10 years from now. It's not about what we do today, but it's about those kids that are successful 10 years from now, 11 years from now, 12 years from now, 13 years from now. That's the most important side. You guys join me in doing the Pledge of Allegiance. Greatly appreciate it. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. So, this is your evaluation. I have some norms I do with my meetings, and first of all, as my wife says, sometimes I start talking, I start getting off. If I do that, and she says I'm mumbling, if I'm mumbling, please let me know. So I do have an habit of that. My wife is a school teacher, so I get a lot of grief about the difference about how we look at things. So, my name is Frank Lawani. My past is I was elected board president for 8 years. I voluntarily stepped aside because I saw the politics that was getting involved with school boards, and I decided I wanted the school board to have an opportunity to continue the great things we had going on. In my tenure as school board president, we consolidated down 2 schools. We went ahead and lost a lawsuit, which most of you have heard about, with the Chad Curtis incident for sexual misconduct, which cost us a lot of students, maybe close to 150 students, and to the tune of probably about $5 million because we didn't do things right. We weren't transparent, we weren't open, and we didn't talk things out. Very, very costly. At the same time, it's the best time to get our stakeholders engaged. If there's one thing we learned is when people are angry, that's when sometimes you can turn that anger into positive change. And we were able to look at our finances, consolidate down, and reduce our students to teacher ratio by doing that. We didn't make a lot of friends through it. Had to have police at some of the meetings because of that. Been on the news, trying to avoid the news as much as possible, stuff like that. But one of the things I learned is this is the best job in the whole world. So if someone tells me that I don't like being on a school board, I go and tell them, to me, you're shaping kids' lives that, again, are 10, 11, 12 years. And this is about how many graduated. That's part of it, as the state requires. But are they successful human beings? And our definition, all our definitions of successful human beings are different. Mine is, if you're happy flipping burgers at McDonald's and that's what you do, that's fine. Someone has to do that, serve billions daily. And if you want to be a lawyer, doctor, anything else, that's fine too. That's the great thing about being in America. We got options galore of what we can or can't do. I'm also super involved in the vocations and CTE. I'm also involved with a couple different boards as it relates to that as well. And I do all the church cooking for our church. So there you have 200. If anybody wants to come over and help me for 200 people some pancakes in 2 weeks, you're more than welcome. So what I'm going to do is there's some meeting norms. I need a timekeeper. Can I have a volunteer for a timekeeper? I believe in one every 1 hour. We take a minute. We take a 10-minute break. I've sat here before, and it is boring and it's long. And I just need a volunteer, doesn't matter.
Here, I'll do it.
Okay, so you gotta tell us when it is. That clock is, when it's 6 o'clock, it'll take 10 minutes, so everybody stays engaged and can do what they need to do. Second thing, I'm gonna ask your participation. I see you sitting there not saying anything or not sharing. I will go ahead and call you and say, well, tell me what you think. Well, I'll just pick on Mark on this and say, Mark, what do you think on this? It's you hired me to do your self-evaluation. So this is the board's evaluation, not the superintendent, is the board's evaluation. It's what you guys feel are your strengths and weaknesses of what you have and how to, and maybe we can come up with some ideas. If we can come up with 2, even 1, that's gonna help. Your meeting, your self-evaluation, and cell phones and computers, I appreciate you putting them away. Nothing drives me more nuts. I had board members that I was adjourn my meeting, I would adjourn it. But I say, hey, evidently we must have something more important going on right here, and evidently your cell phone must be, and it's time to shut it off. So I am that person that has no problem putting people, because I spend my time 3 hours away, not 3 hours, 40 miles away, and you guys are paying me to do this, and I figure we gotta respect each other on that. Okay? Good? Okay. Any questions about that so far? So, we're gonna start with name and introduction, so tell me about yourself. So here's the questions I got. Name, how long you've worked, because most of you guys already know it, but I kind of do. And then why you got on the board, and what do you hope to accomplish at the end of this work session? I'm going to start with Mark.
My name is Mark Davis. I've been on the board decades. I don't really even know. It's over 30 years, I know that. On the board because I see the school district is critical to shaping the community. I think we need to reflect the community, but we also have a lot to do with shaping the community because people, when they move, the first call they'll make will be to find out what's going on in the school district. I hope to accomplish some sense of cohesion and purposeful moving ahead for the board.
All right, thank you. Let's mix it up, because you think you're going to call it.
I'm Greg Chansky. I've been on the board. This is my 2nd year. I'm on the board because I was approached by several different people to run. I was concerned about some of the things that were going on. I think this is a very excellent running district when it comes to the dollars and the cents and all those types of things, villages and those types of things. We do an impeccable job. I'm concerned about some of the moral issues that I've come across, and so that's why I'm
Andrew Witt, I've been on the board since.
Hold on, what did you, I apologize, what do you want to accomplish at the end of this first session?
At the end of this work session, I hope we're further along as a group than we are before, and we'll just see where that goes.
Okay. So you have no expectations?
I said I hope we're further along than we started.
Andrew DeWitt, I've been on the board since October of 22. I'm on the board because I have benefited deeply from this district all the way back to kindergarten. And I care very much so about our kids, about this district, its longevity and its success. And this is my way to hopefully contribute to that. What do I want to accomplish at the end of this? I think it's for us to build some consensus on things that we can all work together to improve upon. I think that over the time that I've been on the board, there's been some things that we can certainly do better. So hopefully by using this tool, we can understand what those things are and then put actionable plans in place to improve.
Thank you. All right.
I'm Barb Cooper. I've been on the board, I think about 5 years. Why I'm on the board, I love kids, and I love to be able to make a difference, and I want to be able to make a difference in the lives of the kids, so that they can grow up to be successful. It doesn't matter what they do, as long as people are happy. What do I hope to accomplish at the end of this work session? Actually, probably a few different things. How we can move ahead, how every board member can respect another board member's opinion. It doesn't mean that you have to agree with their opinion, but that you respect that individual. And I just find that something that's lacking is respect of another individual's opinion.
Nick Bolheis. I've been on the board for just over a year, came on the same time as Greg. Like Andrew, I'm born and raised in Hudsonville, proud Eagle, have benefited greatly by this community. And yeah, interesting times the last few years in our community and our world, and I thought, maybe I have a skill set and a perspective that could be helpful to the board and to the district, because I have a passion for working with kids and shaping them, shaping their future, much like you do. Tonight, I'm really interested to see how we all grade each other on a variety of things. One thing I've learned in my short time here is just different perspectives, different ways of communication. And it could be a lack of respect sometimes. It could just be, I think we all communicate a little bit differently on this board. And if we can understand and appreciate our different communication styles maybe a little bit better, I think sometimes it maybe gets a little personal when it doesn't need to. And I think we can probably improve upon that. And like I said a few times, there's a lot of good things going on in this district. And if we can chart a path forward, we're in a really good spot.
Doug, just tell a little bit about your background.
Doug Energetic, Superintendent. That's my 6th year, finishing my 6th year with Hudsonville. I'm not on the board. 32nd year in education.
So Ken Hull, I've been on the board, I think about 20 years, give or take a little bit. Why am I on the board? I'm a huge believer in public education. And the services, what public education needs to provide to all students. And only public education can do it the way that it really needs to do it. So I'm a huge advocate of that. And as my own 5 kids have gone through the district, I've continued on with that goal, with that mission in mind, and accomplishing by the end of the work session. So I hope for board self-reflection by all board members and self-consideration that leads to some common approaches and common goals that we can all take to move things forward.
And last. That's great.
Last one.
And, I've been on the board just about 14 years. My husband and I have been members of this community since we were born. So are our parents, so are our children. So when an opportunity came to run, it was about continuing to be a part of this community. I care about this community, and probably just as importantly, felt really impressed that each child has amazing potential and wanted to see that their potential was reached. And as far as what we hope to accomplish at the end of this work session, I'd like to come up with 1 or 2 goals that we can all believe in as a way to move ourselves forward. I'd also like to see the door closed on a couple of friction points that we've had over the last few years. And if we can close those friction points and come to some understanding, I think that would be helpful.
So just saying everybody's friction points, types of how different people communicate, respect each other's thoughts, even if they're different, providing, a lot of it, you guys talked about the kids and all that. That's the one thing I noticed that wasn't brought up as much as I've seen in the past. And it's kind of worrisome a little bit, because that's really what we're all here for. So I thought there's some things you got to celebrate. So I go on your website. So I do a lot of research before I do any of these. So I go out, Google up, and pay attention to what comes up first, second, third, fourth. Yes, I've watched the 3 or 4 board meetings. Yes, I've done profile checks. Yes, I've done all that. That's just what I do. I'm a salesperson, so I go ahead and I want to know as much as I can about things before I come in, because I don't want no surprises. I don't like surprises. But there's some really cool things I saw. In 14, 15, and 16, you had some national blue ribbon schools. 2020 graduating rate of 100%. You guys all want that isn't, I guarantee your neighbors aren't that fortunate. That's unbelievable. Students going to higher education, 465%, 2-year college, 17, entry workforce. Those are some phenomenal numbers. I know what ours look like. What I was even more impressed, I missed a page. So hold on, I have to go there. Okay, maybe it's not in there. Okay, we'll go back. So the other thing that I saw in there was, I think you had 77%, right, for going taking AP classes for college credit. Again, we were at 30. And college credit, we weren't even doing the college credit thing, just to let you guys know, so that'd be pretty amazing. Plus, you, if I'm not mistaken, when I checked your webpage, you teach how many languages now?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You have Chinese in there.
Chinese,
Spanish, German. There's three.
English.
Then what's the two types of Chinese? You're doing Mandarin, just Mandarin? That is awesome. And especially with because of the jobs that are coming here due to the healthcare professionals down in the medical mile, which we have a lot to be thankful for, that's helping grow these communities, along with battery plants that are going over in Holland, another thing. I mean, you've got a diverse group of people rolling into your community. So, I found this out there, and see if you guys can tell me whose it is. Mission of public schools is educate, challenge, and inspire all, let me highlight all learners to become contributing responsible members of the global society. The public school district believes that all students can learn. The public schools district is committed to providing a challenging and engaging curriculum, effective instruction, and positive supportive environment. The public school district realizes success will be achieved through a cooperative partnership. Cooperative. Students, teachers, support staff, administrators, board members, parents, community. Remember, highlight, cooperative. Great kids, exceptional staff, outstanding results. Just a few reasons to consider enrolling your kids in public schools. And I think Ken, you said that's why everybody should be in public schools. Can anybody tell me who this is? It is. So I went out there and I looked at some of the stuff, what I saw, and there's some things that I think sometimes as board members we forget. We're there for the students to create an engaging thing for all students. That goes into this next part. One of the things that it didn't show up here was, do any of you remember what your oath of office stated? Yeah, maybe.
I don't remember word for word. I know it's still hold the Constitution of this.
Correct.
state
So
is-
uphold the laws and of the state and U.S. Constitution. That's all it says. Doesn't say anything else. So whether we like it or we don't like it, that's what y'all took an oath for. There's something. So some things that are very near and dear to my heart is what you write down, it's how you act and what you speak. And words are powerful. When I write my name to something, that's powerful. That means I gave my word. I still do a lot of stuff on handshake. Or just say, okay, we got to handle it. Just because I know I gave my word. And to me, when you make an oath, that is the most strongest thing you can do. That means it doesn't matter how you think, what you think, that's what it is. And sometimes we just got through the best experiment in the whole entire world, which I'm sure, how many of you are healthcare professionals in this room? How many of you are qualified to decide if we go to school or not go to school because there's some virus killing thousands of people somewhere else? And all our strategic plans that most of the schools I've gone to, all been put aside. Oh, and then on top of that, how many of you have kitty litters in your school? Okay? But how many have heard about having kitty litter in their school? How many have gotten pictures of kitty litter in their school? So those are two extremes that we've just gone through over the last 4 years. And so what's happened, I've seen a lot of boards getting disjointed because they forgot what we're here for, and all of a sudden we're getting blasted by Fox and CNN. Can't get my hands far enough apart. Versus, we got to do what's right for the kids. And again, you all made an oath of office. Our goal in our schools is that our role is to educate all students. That's what we got. Whether we like it or not, that's what we are. And we owe every education. You guys seen it. It doesn't matter, I think one of the positives that came out of COVID, how much funding did you get for school and education? Finally, to go ahead and hopefully get yourself out of some, I see a lot of smaller districts get themselves in financial difficulty. And some districts got to go get computers for the kids. That was on their dream list, and they don't even have to do that anymore. So for me, when we take that oath of office, when I take that oath of office, I'm going to call it the $4 million mistake, and then we're going to get into your board self-assessment. That oath of office is so strong to me that I watched we had a situation where someone didn't understand the role of the board and it cost us $4 million. Because we made some bad decisions. Bad decisions. Because they didn't understand their oath of office. And if we would have understood this oath of office, we would have made everybody happy. And we were this close to calling it, and basically, just in case you didn't know this, if the insurance company doesn't call it, all your property tax, all people have to write a check within the next tax season to pay off. That would have been a bad thing. So, but it was a pretty learning experience. So let's get into self-assessment. So response scale and satisfactory, most board members do not perform insured factors with this question are done. Needs improvement. 3, 4, and 5. I put up here your cluster analysis for 2022, you had done this in 2022. I thought it was good to see where you're at, where you were and where we're at now. Evidently you did in 2016, I didn't pull that one out. But I just wanted to let you guys see this. Community engagement 4.13.
Right? Do you want to go ahead and hand up the?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Thank you. Yes, please.
So this is where you guys are at in 2022. Leadership, your academic performance accountability was a 4. Board responsibilities 4.12. Board effectiveness and decision making 3.78. Looks really good. Pretty awesome. That's 2022. Let's look at 20 today. So we're still community engagement. We're not going to spend a lot of time here. These haven't changed that much. We'll get a little bit into that, but it's the two things that I saw was, and you guys can see it too, leadership and board superintendent relation. Leadership, you're at 3.07, it's down to 2.47. And board superintendent relationship is down a half, basically a half point, 6 cents of 0.2 as well. That's the facts. So I just wanted you guys to see that. That's where we go. That's not a good trend. Usually it's going up. You mentioned about communication. Even after you get done with this, after we get done, I would strongly suggest doing the DISC assessment in a work session. And the reason is the DISC assessment, it can be done through MASB. It's not just this. And even I'm a consultant. I have a full-time job, so I do this on the side. This is not my full-time job. But the DISC assessment teaches you about how people, if they're dominant, influencers, status quo, just kind of compliant. But what it does, it helps you learn how each other, it does some exercises on that. It helps you understand. Because, one of the greatest things about this country is that we can all have differing thoughts and opinions. Or we can live in China, or you live in Russia and get, killed if you're at the prison, poisoned or whatever else, or you just go and arrest everybody that's at the guy's funeral afterwards and you just think there's a problem. You just get, eventually that's how you do it. Here, we're allowed to have differing thoughts. That's what makes the school board so great, in my opinion, because again, when you ran for office and they say DI&R or C or whatever else you came with, it just says, I want to be a school board member. We're like judges in a way, because we form opinions and ideas and direction. So we'll get to your cluster. So this is how it breaks down. I don't spend a lot of time on here, but let's get over here. Leadership. Clearly articulate vision and mission for the statements for the district. Is there any of these that we can group together that you see, consider community perspective of all stakeholders? Let's just start with that one first, so we can come back up there. Articulate mission and vision. Because how do you guys articulate vision and vision now?
Through the website mainly, and on some of our publications.
Do you read it at the beginning of each meeting? Could you?
Could be on all our agendas.
But you in the top, I think it's on the top. Yeah, but do you read it? Do you believe it? That's what the difference is. Is it part of who you are. Because that's part of it. You can, otherwise it's words. Yeah, you put them on everything. Oh, everybody knows what it is. Right? Everybody knows what this is written down. But do they? I mean, how many times do you read something, or a book, or a phrase, or a verb, and you read it more and more and more because who you are? You know what I mean? It's kind of like e pluribus unum, or what's that? It's not one of this. Isn't that an allegory? I think it's e pluribus unum. No, that's something else. What's that e pluribus unum?
I think it's on form, isn't it?
It's on a quarter, yeah, thank you. I don't know what.
From many one.
Yes. But there's certain things you read, I mean, but the only way you can be is how do you articulate. Think about what we just said, wrote down. Is that articulating? That's part of articulation. So what does the verb articulate mean? Speak,
Express.
act, express. It's more than written on a piece of paper. So we get done, you guys spent probably, I think you did it with MASB, you probably spent like 6 or 7 weekends. You went through it all, a bunch of core things, and said, hey, guess what, we're going to put on a piece of paper, isn't that great? But you were talking, Nick, about communication, that's part of articulation of communication. Because when you read at each beginning of each meeting, even as simple as us doing the Pledge of Allegiance, that's who we are. Because we have an opportunity to pick what our kids are in our schools, all because of where we live. And we're not telling them at grade 3 that, by the way, you're going to work in the factory. How many other ways you guys could see you can articulate your missions and vision?
How we act, by what we talk about as important to us, what we decide to fund.
And it's all about all students, because in your mission and vision it says all students. Okay. So I got a 2 here on community perspectives. I mean, those that said you guys are doing a terrible job of looking at all. Can you help me on that a little bit?
I think you hit on it to some degree in the beginning when you talked about the fact that the community is changing just as much by outside, I won't say forces, but those in, because we have expanded businesses. We have expanded our families by not necessarily marrying someone who comes from West Michigan. Those are all ways in which people have joined our community that didn't live here. And that diversity is a great picture of America, but it's also sometimes hard for people to change.
Is it scary telling you guys some of the things? I mean, to be honest, it's scary.
So I'm not from this area, and I will state that when we moved here, we are Catholic. And this is not a region that is heavily practices Catholicism. And my grandparents were Christian Reformed, and my dad married a Catholic and was like disowned. So, and they pretty much did not do much with us growing up. So religion has always been kind of a touchy subject. So I remember when we moved here, I told my 2 boys who were kindergarten and 2nd grade, I told them, don't tell anyone you're Catholic because no one will play with you. Because I'm not from this area, it is.
How many remember when Hudsonville you could buy liquor here?
Yeah, I remember that. I remember going to my grandparents in Jensen and nothing was open on Sundays.
Did you grow up here?
I've been here for 40 years.
Oh, but you don't remember? I remember.
Yeah, you do.
I mean, that's just a sign of how things change. I mean, Sunday liquor sales, that seems like the last place, I think, in the whole state of state.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to get up, but this is the last place.
No, and it's
It's
been
never
within the
changed.
last, I've been here now 16 years, and it's been within the last 16 years.
But it tells you how, what I'm telling you is outside influence in the growth that this area has had. I remember I worked for Spartan Stores years ago, and this was all farmland. I got dropped out on my directions here. I was over at the Christian school, and I go, I don't think I'm supposed to be. I know I'm close, so I went around 2 more miles, found I found the new high school, and come back around, and then I got back here again. Because I was thinking, oh my gosh, here we go again. I did that in the school district up by Muskegon. I ended up at the landfill. To take the center spot of the district. So, but there's been a lot of changes here, and so that's what I was asking. So, what do you guys mean by not looking at all community perspectives? Speak up. I mean, this is the weakest part in this whole thing. And that's why we're starting on this section. I could go to the easy stuff, and that's really easy. But
For me, I think people have thought that outside groups have influenced my decision-making, when in fact, I've done my research.
mm-hmm.
And so I have based my votes on the research that I have done. I don't let people influence me. Yes, people talk to me, but I look at the research. Talk to people.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't let people influence me.
Good.
I think we have a very passionate community here, a strong ownership of our community, and I view that as a very positive thing. It's a different environment. I mean, we've got 2 recordings going on of this meeting right now.
Oh yeah, I trust. Oh
Yeah, So a lot of the work that was probably done back in the day in a work session, nobody even knew about.
I know.
You could talk freely, you could have open, honest disagreements on things, but you didn't have dozens of people watching it and commenting on real time. So there's the curtain's been pulled back a little bit. So some of this maybe isn't new. We're just all aware of it.
Well, this all changed everything. I firmly believe.
So some folks on this board, and this is not a negative, didn't sign up for that.
No, I agree.
And
So
for
you're
others
sure
of
you're
us,
progress or not?
maybe we're crazy for signing up for it. I don't know, because we came in after that all started. So just the dynamics have changed in how you communicate and how you lead. And I think it's a learning process. And one of the big things I'm trying to learn here every day is to kind of be gracious with everybody, because once you sit in this seat, it's a different perspective than the seats back there or at home.
And I'm glad you brought up that word, because there's a lot, that's something I usually bring up a lot about how can we graciously do it, because people can always take a recording and just only hear that sound bit, because even through some of the ones I listen to, then I got a really nice YouTube situation thing on my computer. I can't even hear 3/4 of the stuff that's happening. So if I can't hear it, I can only imagine everybody else isn't hearing about everything else either. So you only pick up the spots when the voices get loud. You don't hear the rest of it. So that makes a big difference.
So again, not good, bad, other ways, it's just different. And you argue really well that, hey, it's good for everybody to see what goes on. But yeah, there's work that goes into these decisions because they're so important. And everybody sitting here cares. Maybe we didn't say it enough at the beginning, but I honestly believe all 7 of us are here because we care a lot about our kids and our community, and we just want what's best for them. Because several of us you're the most proud Hudsonville Eagle ever, Don, and we just want.
You got great kids in school too, right?
Well, mine are in Hudsonville, yeah.
Okay.
So that's why I think it's just so important for us to get on the same page on some things, because there's so much good going on already that we can accomplish even more.
And like you said, I think when you go with community perspective, all stakeholders, is how do we, it goes back to that thing, how do we support all students? And it's the all thing, that's what you signed up for. I mean, that's what it states in the Constitution, it's free public education. That's part of who we are as a country and who we are as a state. Doesn't matter, that's what it is, it's all. And it's tough. I don't want to say that it's not tough, because You know, we all are different individuals and different people, but we made an oath of office, and that's where it's at. And it's tough because it plays against some things that we believe too, so.
And there are differing opinions in the community, obviously. And one of our challenges as a board is to take those differing opinions, and then, as you said, Frank, to craft those into, okay, what do we think, given the collective, interest of this board on doing what's right for all students? How do we craft that into all students when there are different opinions, when there are different perspectives, when there are, as an indicator of our society in general? And so it's part of our challenge to craft those.
It is. I don't know.
Listen and then to bring
There's no easy way,
right.
other than listen with respect. I'm going to jump a little bit. I was going to bring it up earlier. So MASB tells you not to comment when people when they come up and talk. Okay. They've given me the blessing, and I've been telling more and more people. People want to be heard, they want to hear that they'll listen. So the standard school board thing, we don't say anything, listen. But one of the things I think that we have to do as people, because it has created the Facebook problems, but I can post anything, it has created, I can go watch 5 minutes of your video, and I only get part of the story, I don't get the whole story. And trust me, I didn't. I watched 3 meetings, you guys have really long meetings. So, I like the policy meeting, absolutely. But what you need to do when people talk, and if it's about the same issue, then group it together. Say thank you for taking the time, understand, to come and address the board. I know it's tough to talk here because we're not going to respond to you. We're not going to solution. But we take those comments all very seriously, and we're trying to meet all of your needs. Versus. Okay, on agenda number 1, we got this here. How would you feel as a student, better yet, how would your kid feel? Hey, look at this, I just hit a home run. And you just said, okay, well, I'm on my phone, or I'm doing this, or I'm doing that. So what I'm saying, you don't have to solve the issue, but address it. Thank you, we heard you. We take some of these words you say to us to heart. We're trying to change, we want to do the best for the Hudsonville School District. You do that enough, that means you're listening. Does that mean, and I don't know, whoever your spokesperson is, but it calms the room down, but also you respected them, or that individual. You just address, and you can group it together, but it sets the tone a little bit better, that we're working together as a team. I know what MASB, I sat through enough of those, and I don't say anything. But when I was having 20 of them come up at a time, and I'm going, oh my gosh, and I've seen other people, and you got it, because what it does, it just set the whole meeting, it just set the whole tone for the rest of the meeting. You could have been all happy, and you just sit there and go, what the heck? What are you guys going to pay $10 a meeting? Or some districts are free. And I'm going, oh my gosh, it's a free job, you pay for your election, you have to pay to get elected, for your campaign signs and all that stuff. But by acknowledging what that person can't talk to, you're just saying, thank you for coming to talk to us. You give us thank you for giving us your perspective. But it's science shows society. Because what's happening today, all I got to do, you got Facebook?
Yes.
Okay. So how much time do you spend on it?
Not very much.
Okay.
Just a lawyer.
Okay. So lawyer, okay. Hey, thanks for your honesty. But how many people go ahead because they don't get a response back? They'll just trash you, right? How many people get trashed on Facebook? Because they don't have to face anything. How many times have you been trashed on Facebook? Oh, see, okay, most suits don't. But because they don't get a response back. I've got a couple districts where the superintendent and the board president would call back if someone ditched on the school. They would go ahead and call them, hey, I understand you got a problem with this. You see posted on Facebook. Oh my gosh, what a change. That person doesn't know what to say. Hey, let's talk about it. Come in the office, talk to the superintendent, let's talk about it. Let's address it. You guys are concerned, let's get it out in the open. And then you start calling stuff down. What happens is people aren't, so what happens is people When they don't get a response, what do you think the response is gonna be? Does that make sense?
It's a very interesting perspective to have, because that actually has been a point of conversation here, where, yeah, there's different groups, different groups, different worldviews. And part of the contention on the board is, well, after meetings, you're going up and talking to that group or that group in the parking lot. I personally scared to death to talk to anybody at this point. You're the person out the door at the end. So they can't, yeah, well, I want to talk to anybody. Don't
How fast did you get there today?
But again, because that's the directive from MASB, and just, yeah, we don't want to have on the news, we've all seen that.
We have to start treating people with, they got up to speak to us. You gotta be out from the courtesy with a response. And you don't want to be canned. It comes from the heart.
Yeah,
I mean, I
absolutely.
believe it. I watched some of your meetings, but I'm watching you guys. It just changed the whole tone of your meetings. You just guys went like, oh, geez, we just got trashed on again today, and how, so if you address, by doing that on a consistent basis, you're treating them like a human being, they treat you like a human being. You might find out that some of the stuff you do might get changed, but they respect you because you recognize more than just them. Hey, because I filled out this piece of paper, I got to speak at your board meeting.
Frank, what do you, I personally think this is a great idea. There was
I do CBA 101.
a year and a half or 2 years ago, there was someone that got up to speak that literally gave inaccurate information. And it wasn't addressed. And I felt very uncomfortable because I thought everyone in that room thinks this is true, and it's not true. It was about a book that they were saying we had in the district, and we didn't have it. And I thought they left, and because it wasn't addressed, I thought everyone thinks we have this book in the district.
So I've seen where some boards where this works out and just say, hey, thanks for, again, it wasn't true. We're gonna go ahead, look over at this guy here. We'll look into it, have an answer to you by a week. I'm not sure about all the details.
But what do we
But
do
then,
with
what's that?
what do we do with people that, when they get up for their public comments, all they do is talk negative about board members? It's not about a particular policy necessarily, it's just really how bad you are.
And that's why I'm telling you, I watched how many of those you got. We're not supposed to talk about our district. I had the same problem, so don't. And so I started doing it that way. What happened is we started calming it down because you become the Facebook of Hudsonville Public Schools. So now we can just make their comments and they know you're gonna. And what the difference is by saying thank you for taking the time. We're trying to get better. We know we got a lot to learn, but we're trying to do the best for all kids. And some things like on that book, that's an action that goes over, hey, I'm just gonna talk to, Doug, and he was gonna look into it. I understand your concern, but, that's all you do. But thank you for bringing our attention, this could exist, that's it. You don't have to it isn't about making it a mountain of a molehill, but it addresses that you actually recognize that. Because what happens once you start doing it because of who you are and they understand you're compassionate, caring, and you're not. Now let's go to item number 1. What's the rest of it? Okay, how do we think about the consent agenda today?
So you're saying it's okay, because we've always been told.
Oh, I know you've always been told.
We're not
I do this in my
facial
head. So I do
expressions are
CBA
specific.
101. I do CBA 101, and I do effective board too. Or, whether it qualifies to the effective board. So I do that too. I've been doing all of them. You gotta address it. You have to, because it's no different than a Facebook post. And you do it with respect. Just say thank you for bringing it. We're trying our best. We're brand new. We've done this for 2 years, and what it does is puts a human side to it too.
You recommend doing that after everyone speaks, or?
No, if you got a group all talk about the same thing,
Yeah.
you mentioned it, and whoever it was. There was Johnny, Sue, Sally, and Barb, all talked about the same thing. Johnny, Sue, Sally, and Barb, thank you very much for taking the opportunity to come and talk to us. I know it takes a lot of courage to do that. And it's really hard for us to sit here and listen. But we hope to do better. We're trying to do better. And we want to keep Hudson schools being a place where all kids can come to learn. Does that make sense? But you guys are getting just beat on. Holy jeez. All I had to do was watch the first 20 minutes of like the first 5.
It's a lot better than it was.
Whoa! I was one of those people on the board that loved conflict, just as I loved it when people came to talk. It was just, we had one guy that was great for closed session stuff, because we had, kids. He had a past history with drug abuse and alcohol abuse, and missing school, and what an amazing story, successful human being today. But every time we had a behavior issue in that, when we closed off, and he got to talk, because he just expressed it the best, and I couldn't. It was just amazing watch. It was even cool when the kids would come back and get reinstated because they listened to what he said. That was just, I had one of those life-changing people that could just make it work. So, but that would help your community perspectives, because I know what they are. It's the auto impact. It's meeting separately outside the buildings. It's having separate meetings. Or you talk to somebody. I saw you talk to somebody. But I was just missing the photos. But the idea is, what's hard when you're in a school board thing, you lose a lot of friends. Trust me, I don't talk to 3/4 of the people I used to, just because they didn't like my decisions. I'm a compartmentalizer or something. So, and that's what you got to do on school board too, is compartmentalize some of that. So it helps. We have 5,500 students. Do you think you're going to keep them all happy?
No.
And there's probably 500 parents in that group.
Yeah, we're 6,800.
60. Oh, yeah, I'll need that webpage.
It said 6,800.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. I should remember
It's a while ago.
that. Yeah, over 1,000 staff.
Total.
Oh,
Yeah, we pay a little over
jeez.
1,200 staff.
Wow. And I just had 100. So a little bit different world. So that's one thing. What's other things you guys think you could do, for community perspective? Because you guys did the SOAR thing. I mean, and you guys are pretty diligent, I saw on your values in that. But how would you go ahead? I mean, that's, how do you, the board, engage, in events, by being at events? I wasn't a sports dude, but I had other people go to that. I went to all football games, but I was a fine arts board person that just went to all the stuff. But the more you get to stuff, or coffee and, more visible you are. You can't sit in your office all day. Once in a while, go to the favorite coffee shop down the road here. And just eat, sit there, and hopefully someone wants to come and have a cup of coffee with you, or buy somebody a cup of coffee. Make friends with a bunch of people sitting at a round table. Or I'll have a coffee and find out that they'll hear everything you always wanted to hear or didn't want to hear. But if you engage and be now, how engaged are you guys with events and all that? You got recognized at the one meeting, I think, right? You did. What did you do? For wrestling, was it wrestling?
Oh, wrestling. Oh, yeah, that one.
Yeah.
I like wrestling.
I think it's always been up to the individuals prior to the last little bit, whether you attend or don't attend. Now, just recently, we did sort of, through some of our review of the code of conduct and some of the other things on this area of how do we be more visible, how do we be out there listening, not in a formal setting. Some of us have deliberately set up times and places that we're going to be to facilitate that. So I think we're making some progress.
Some of it's just being seen, and not going, hey, tell me what you think everything's wrong with the school today. That isn't what we're thinking about. I mean, we got methods already in place for that.
We've had a culture, and that's been promoted by Doug and previous superintendents. It's okay to just pop into a school and just to say hi and kind of walk around and peek into a classroom and just make sure the principal, knows what's going on in his or her building. But that welcomeness, that openness to.
How many of you done that? But again, I mean, if you could set a goal of doing it X amount of time, I mean, it just, and again, be open, serve lunch for the day to a bunch of little lunchkins running by. You know, it just, that observation, people see you care about the kids, it's what you can do without fighting or stuff like that.
I think it's those small things, right?
Yeah. It's all
We
small
can't solve
things.
everything
It's all
in
small
one day.
things, it's all small things, it's
I think
how
we
we
also-
challenge ourselves.
Yeah, and part of though, you have to build that relationship too. Because I always want to be mindful of, if I don't know so-and-so principal in a building, the last thing they probably want is a board member showing up. Because it's like at work, your boss's boss is showing up and
Or have two to show up at the same time.
Yeah. So I mean, there's just that fine line. I want to show respect to them and their school and all of that. So the buildings I'm more apt to stop in, I have a relationship with them that has been cultivated over time. And
Yeah,
it just
it's
takes
not,
work.
just, yeah.
If I can just make a comment,
Yeah.
I don't know if that is always necessarily supported.
Okay.
That board members communicate with principals and I don't know if that is always openly supported.
But
I can't make your comment about
I don't know if it's always openly supported.
But I think there's two different ways. I would probably call, hey, did so-and-so, I would get with Doug and say, hey, can I, do it that way and come through? Because, otherwise you got everybody inundating, and I get it, you just want to observe, that's all we're doing. We're doing, it's called MBWA, Management by Wandering Around. It's not by, finding fault, it's just to be seen,
To be visible.
Yeah.
But I think what a great opportunity to even collaborate and to go with leadership as you meander about.
Right, because when you're sitting here, it gives you a better idea, because you might find out that, hey, we were kind of wrong on that, we're getting involved in stuff that, hey, we already got a great program, but why would we change it, But I think if you work through, because you don't want everybody just jumping in, hey, that's useful. Because that's what happened, I see some schools do that nice stuff, 3 board members show up, oh, geez. I know when I've seen some do facility walkthroughs for the board to really understand the need to do the improvements that need to get done, all because of situations, and that was one of those opportunities. It's very tough because we all only have one, you all have one employee. That's him. And it's about the methods, because I just started teaching a superintendent evaluation, and one of the guys that watched and basically shadowed, he kept bringing up methods. So what is the method that you would want to go about that, so it's something you guys don't want to do on it? And then you just stick to the method. I mean, that way you always run out there and creating their own armies and stuff like that. Because the one thing I'm finding out, if you're looking for negative stuff, you can find it everywhere. You just ask. Everybody's an expert. So, you 3 are really quiet here. Really quiet.
I was waiting for that. No, I think, so on all of this, I think the makeup of our board, the makeup of our community is a reflection of our society, right? And I know I'm going to kind of get off base a little bit here, but this aligns, I think, with number 2, 3, maybe 4. I mean, look, we've already said, this district looks a lot different now than it did 15 years ago. Our country looks a lot different than it did 15 years ago. And I think in a world where, the topic that gets the most clicks is the most important one to think about or talk about, it's easy for us, even as a board who lives by our mission statement, it's easy for us to get caught up into that. And I think that as a board, it's our responsibility to rise above that. Way easier said than done, but I think there are groups, there are individuals within this community that would really love to see that divide.
Oh, yeah.
They would really love to see people picking sides on everything. They would love to see people disagree. And we all hear it as board members, right? Like, oh, Ken said this at a board meeting. Like, that's horrible. Why, how can you sit on a board, right? Like, it happens all the time. And so when it comes to, from community perspectives and of all stakeholder groups, I think that sometimes we give the stakeholder groups that have allowed us the most attention, just like we do in society. And that's I think a fundamental issue that we're not going to fix probably in this room tonight, but it's something we need to do.
Speaking, we look at series all the time, and what happens is we get caught up in this stuff. Again, it's the students that matter. It's not all the other stuff.
Sure.
Again, it's, I really wish the MSTEP would teach what that student that barely passed would teach, tell me where they were at 10 years from now. That to me is what you're accountable for. Raising successful human beings 10 years from now.
Sure.
And the guy from Midland ISD, Midland or Gladwin ISD, I met with him at a vocational graduation. And the guy had been up there for 10 or 11 years as the ISD superintendent, and he was telling me, the superintendent doesn't really get an opportunity to run the district the way with culture change and things until he's been at it for 6 years. And right now, because of what you said about everybody's different thoughts, ideas and all that, and COVID, we were at 3, now we're down to like just over 2 years. 2 years in, just think about it. If you're at Ford Motor Company and you went through a CEO every 2 years, could you be successful? Well, we sure can chase out superintendents real quick. That's pretty scary. But we buy stock in Ford Motor Company because they're stable. And our stock is the kids.
Yeah, and I guess my overarching comment here is not that we certainly value all stakeholders, right? But to your point earlier, we're not going to make everybody happy. We can't. We certainly cannot. But we need to, Ken's earlier point, right? We need to rise above that, I'll call it noise, even though it's not noise because it's important feedback, right? But we need to focus on what's best for the kids.
And it's how you blend it all in together.
Right.
With that, we're going to take a break, even though I know it's a job. I apologize.
very cool.
So let's get back to the 6:10.
6:10? Oh, wow.
That fun, then. We haven't got through the first page. Okay, you guys ready? See, I saw you looking at your clock there, so got that down. Okay, moving right along here. Okay, so what is a way you guys could create an environment that ensures that commitments and directives are in the best interest of students? Okay, someone from this side.
Question 3.
Yeah. Create an environment that ensures all that commitments and directives are in the best interest of students. What are some things you guys are, what are you guys doing right now to do that? Because 2 of you said we're not. So you said we're doing okay, 2 good, 1 said we're doing great.
So here's my quick perspective on this one. There are a lot of things about teaching kids that I just don't know about, right? I am not a teacher.
You're the experts.
Right, so one of the things that I do, I just did it this week or last week, during parent-teacher conferences. I was in a building and met with the teachers that my kids have. But I talked to other teachers about some things. One is a new math curriculum that we're talking about, right? I just asked the teachers about their thoughts on the new math curriculum because we talked about it at our last board meeting and I wanted to hear it from more people, right? So when it comes to what's in the best interest of our students, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I know at all times what the best thing is for our students because I'm not an expert. But what I can do is I can ask experts. And that's within our district or doing research on other districts, those sorts of things to make sure that that our commitments and directives are in the best interest of students.
And I noticed you do a team approach on the curriculum and that too, I saw where you put the programs together. And that's one of the ways, hey, who all was involved in the decision, you know, how do you come across that decision? And if he's going through the steps and it goes back to the method again, you know, you guys got the method, that's how, you know, hey, you know, just, is it, how does it happen? Value difference of opinion does not let
Frank, I might make a comment on
Yeah,
it
go
for you. Part of that's also, I mean, we use data.
Yeah.
So data pulled together by the superintendent and his staff to assess how we're doing in certain areas. Continuing to use that data and really look at it and analyze it and say, gosh, it looks like maybe we're doing down here, we're doing well there, or what's this group of students that we're struggling with? And I know that's a key activity from MSTEP evaluations in other areas.
Do you guys use NWA here or not? You don't just have MSTEP only?
Well, we use STAR.
Star reading. And both those are, I mean, there's so many different things, as long as you have something consistent that you're looking at, it's there, I mean, that's what it's there for.
And then back to Andrew's point, our staff, our teachers, they're the experts. And so it's our role as a board to, I think, to say, hey, what can we do here or there? But you tell us, because you're
You
the
got some
experts.
phenomenal teachers from what the stuff I saw out there, holy jeez. There's, I would give given both my legs to have what you guys do. A lot of these kids a lot more than what you guys think you do. Pretty phenomenal.
Real quick, just to add on to that, right? From a business perspective, right? I want to hire and attract the most talented people I possibly can in my day job, right? I think as a board, we want to do the same thing. So if we can't get our stuff together as a board and other people see that, right? Like, we want to make sure that this place continues to be the school of choice for great teachers.
Because you guys are the leaders,
That's right.
and that's what they look at.
That's right. And if I'm a, watch what I say here, if I'm someone who has options about where I'm going to go to work, I'm going to go to a school that's got it figured out. Hudsonville does, so let's keep it that way, right?
It's aligned.
That's right. Yep.
So, let's go over to 4. Value difference of opinion does not let differences. Hold on, it goes back over here. Let's just get to the comments. Different perspectives are not respected. And then this other one, strategic planning is an excellent method. You guys are using the surveys, I saw that. Linked shared, all but non-unanimous. And then you get a little bit, trust is lacking between some on our board and between some on the board and the superintendent staff as a result of the past 2 years. I guess, what is the reason, the lack of trust? I mean, it keeps coming up in there, and it comes up, and when the people come walking up to tell you what they think about stuff. What all caused it? What's the elephant in the room? Or do we just want to fight and argue all the time? That's,
Mr. Davis, I think maybe you could speak to that.
I'm happy to speak to anything.
you're being quiet, so I'm looking forward to this.
I'm just a quiet guy. I think actually the board is united on the direction of the district. I think that we have phenomenal teachers. I think the curriculum we have, we've had differences of opinion on some ancillary items of curriculum, like the ruler program. I don't think it's been coming up again, but we had a lot of dispute over that, and it was a 3-4 vote. I don't want 3-4 votes. I think on the whole, the district is moving very well ahead. And if you get into the classrooms, the teachers are doing fine work. I think our building leaders are doing very good job.
See, I think my issue with this is you guys only took this test about 4 weeks ago. So it hasn't died. It's not this amoeba. It's still swimming around. It's still alive. It's like the movie Dune. You got an amoeba and they'll attach it, they will run farther, they eat the spice, and et cetera, et cetera. If you guys didn't know about the Dune movie or the book. So, but there's more than that. I mean, we gotta that's part of it. I think we're being a little bit unhonest because this trust thing is a big issue. And I think we just gotta say, how, even if we don't want to bring it up, how do we start today? I put you guys all on the ropes course and have you all jump in each other's hands, but from a trust issue, but how do we fix it? I mean, how can you,
You know, when we go into the buildings, we have the SOAR signs everywhere, and the O stands for own it.
what's that?
Own it. Hey,
Yeah.
big mistake, own it. And I think that just in my time here, there's been times when we maybe need to just own things. Say, hey, you know what, I screwed up. I said something wrong. I did something wrong. Will you forgive me? And
Bingo.
move on.
You said what I was looking for.
It's an expectation that we have for our kids.
I'm gonna give you guys a great example. I did some really stupid things. I was the board president for 4 months of being appointed. And I took over our one room in our house. Now it was a room, we got a guest building, it was an old granary, we converted it. And my wife goes out there, I got flip charts. There's 20 flip charts stuck all over the walls because I'm trying to figure out how to fix everything. And I'm a solution provider. I like fixing things. I'm gonna figure it all out. So I went and did it again. I got it down to 10. I took it down 5. I got it 1. And then what I found out is I made a lot of mistakes and I made a lot of assumptions. There's nothing wrong as a board member to say I messed up. And doing it publicly, I actually publicly apologized to 2 board members because I handled it wrong. And that was my comment to start the meeting. I gotta bring this out right now because it's bothered me for a while. And I just thought, oh my gosh, now I'm a human being. You want to go ahead and cut stuff down. There's nothing wrong with owning it. We all make mistakes. We're human beings. That's just who we are. We all make mistakes. Sometimes we come off with the wrong words. Sometimes we say the wrong things. Sometimes we look at someone the wrong way. You're on video, so anything's possible now. And someone, I had one guy that his feet would move, and someone made a comment because we were at the board table and his feet were moving. Oh my gosh, people, that's what we're gonna watch, is their feet moving. But if you own it, even if you guys make mistakes, just say it. Hey, I messed up, I apologize, there's nothing wrong. What it does is it brings humility. It brings trust to people too.
I look at it, we're the only people in our district that everything we do is on camera, basically. Yeah. So it is a tremendous opportunity for us to model behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Students, staff, otherwise. If we can't own things and ask for forgiveness and again, give each other grace, how does that set the culture in our buildings? If we can't be vulnerable enough with ourselves to make mistakes, how is a teacher going to be
able to do their job? It is hard when you're
job?
sitting at that desk. I can talk like right now, but I remember, my hands are sweaty. I was breaking in a cold sweat. I didn't want to, but I knew I had to do it because I had I have a large faith background, but I knew I had to go out and get off my chest to make me feel better. I needed to be contrite in how I believe and be gracious about that. And the effect, the positive effect it had, way outweighed the negative effect of it. Because it shocked some people. Some of those same people you said that want to go ahead and they're looking for everything, you're listening to noise. They were like, why'd you say that? I had you right here where I wanted you, but because you apologized, they lost their control. And they go, wait a sec, we're human beings. And it's a powerful tool. Like you said, to own it.
I think one of the other things that the other 4 newer members of the board, because Andrew, of you 4, let's see, Barb has been here for a while, but you've got 3, and Barb is newer compared to the standards of Mark and Ken and even myself. I don't think they really had understanding of what our board was like pre-COVID specifically, but also pre a couple of situations that happened. And because of that, I think Ken and Mark and myself have a slightly different perspective on how boards were run or should run, and the relationship between the board and the superintendent and the central office. Mm-hmm. And there have been some comments made specifically about trusting the employee we hired. And as one of our former board members said, I'm just gonna rip the Band-Aid off, okay? When I have 2 board members that have made it clear at some point that they're not sure they trust our superintendent, That's a trust factor for me. Because as a board, we have given them a highly effective rating for the last 4 times. And to me, that's one of the issues I have with trusting several of the board members. Because if that's their feeling, and if there are board members that believe that some of us must just be led by the Pied Piper because we believe everything that our superintendent tells us, that's a comment that's made. It's hard to trust people that say those kind of things. And maybe I'm the only one who feels that way or notices that's what's happened. But it's really hard for me to get past that when there's been no apology. And to me, those comments are inappropriate considering the level of Dr. Vanderjack and the ratings that he has been given.
Thank you for your honesty in bringing that up. Does anybody else want to comment on that?
Yeah, I have specifically stated at a meeting that, in fact, I think I used it in the context of, I said, Ken and I agree pretty much on everything that he said and I said. But one of the differences is that he trusts everything, and I'm not saying that as a negative, that Dr. Vanderjack says, and I don't have that trust. And I don't have that trust because of some interactions that I've had. That you said we have one employee, right? Sometimes I don't believe that Dr. Vanderjack understands that we are his employers. And sometimes when I'm bringing things up, it seems like I'm not getting the feedback that I would be getting from someone who is at least on the same level.
So what do you expect for feedback, I guess?
Well, I'm not going to get into specifics.
No, because if we can come up with a system.
I think, and I said this numerous times, I have the utmost respect for Dr. Vanderjack's ability to run a district this size. I think he does a phenomenal job on the finances, on the bond issues, on being everywhere at every time, it seems like. But there are some issues, there are some big issues in my mind. SEL is one of them.
Okay, hold on, I don't do acronyms.
Okay,
well.
Social
emotional learning.
Okay.
And books. There's been and everybody has a right to their opinion on what they think is right on books that we should or should not have here. Okay? Those are the issues. And it seems like sometimes when there's not an agreement on those types of things, and I'm not saying this about the board, I'm saying this about the community, the equation between disagreement and hate is not the same. Just because I disagree with someone doesn't mean I hate them. I just disagree with them. And there are some things that I'll probably never agree on. There are some things where I may change my opinion in a nuanced sort of way, but I'm not going to disregard the things that are going on all around us, and not just in Hudsonville, but all around us and getting closer and closer to Hudsonville, that I think are extremely important to children and to parents and families. And if, unless someone can change my mind on those things, I'm not going to change it.
So on that social emotional learning, you don't understand that part of the education?
No, I understand it. I think that there are things that we do in that aren't helpful to all the students. And Mark mentioned it earlier. We had a 4-3 vote on that. You know, it was a vote that was months in coming. And those are the things. Once it was resolved and voted, I haven't said anything else about it.
Okay.
You know? But as far as me stating that there are things that I can't, that's being honest. And I don't think you should slam me because of that. That's just the way that I feel. And those things may change. Also, when we talk about the evaluation, you know, one of the things that I said about this evaluation was,
Yeah, I want to, okay.
well, but I mean, if you wanted, you said you wanted to.
No, I do.
Okay, so when I was looking at that evaluation thing, the parameters in which we had to evaluate, I mean, I was at on, what was it? Highly effective, I think was, okay? That's where it was. But when I was looking at the things that I had to, that are the most important things in my mind, to a leader of this magnitude, I felt those didn't even scratch the surface. I had a number of other things that I would be looking at from a leader that weren't quite that high on my list. And so, I mean, that's the way it is. You know, now I will give you one more example, then I'm going to keep quiet. I've had several people over the last couple of years say to me that they think the superintendent is overpaid. And I smile and I say, absolutely, positively not. Because I've been in meetings where he's got this going and this going and this going. I wouldn't want that. And I've had positions of a lot of authority and a lot of pressure and all that kind of stuff. I wouldn't want that job. And so,
There are too many people in that too.
no, well, once again though, the ones who don't know,
Yeah.
you know, are the ones who don't know.
So how, I mean, I guess in this, I really wish, there's not an easy answer to this. I don't expect 7-0, but as long as we're not just voting just to vote, just to say no. I
I think we
mean,
could have gotten to 7-0 though on SEL. The issue wasn't SEL. I think if you were to ask each board member, and I don't want to speak for them, but I think every board member supported social emotional learning. It was the program that was selected. And that goes back to one of the slides. It was number 5 or number 6, where you look at consensus.
okay, yep.
Number seek to build consensus. I think we could have gotten to a vote of 7-0. It was the ruler curriculum. There were other SEL programs. When we looked at all the data and when we looked at what the teachers wanted, at first and I don't remember all the specifics. If we had gone with a different program other than ruler, and there were many other ones, we could have worked with consensus and we could have gotten, I believe, to a 7-0 vote.
So, okay, so when you're going through those situations, let's say, we'll just use that one as the same example. How did you, so usually when you have everybody with different opinions, usually the board president, in most situations, will always ask, Doug, what do you think is the reason to pick this? Because at some point, when you see it's getting hostile, or we're not getting a solution, he already knows it's time to table it. Instead of dragging it, because what happens is people start getting angry and everything else like that. Could have been controlled by, there's 3 key things, and if you get the chance, one of the things I learned through the first board president's workshop and the second board president's workshop I took, I wanted to know how to be more effective. And one of the things was just ask the suit. So if you're trying to buy some time, or if you see the other thing that you have ability to do as president, when you see you're not getting it to everybody, you say, you know what, we're just going to table this and talk about it at the next meeting. Because then when you see you're going down this path, and sometimes I've been in there where you're going down a bad path, and then everything's getting personal. You have the ability to table that. You don't have to make decisions and call all the cavalry back in and say, hold on here. We're not going to create a little bit of horn here. Let's go ahead and find something that everybody agrees upon. I've done that with numerous superintendents. I've seen other board presidents do it. You just call it back. It's your job to call it back in. And just say, hold on, let's table this. Let's just move it over here. We're not feeling comfortable. I don't feel it. I'm not feeling the 7-0 vote. This is very crucial. because some of us don't like it or whatever else. That's where we gotta bring it back. We gotta recognize when we got something that causes people, 7 people to show up to the next board meeting. It's not that you don't want to answer, you're being transparent. Hey, we just didn't feel we had the right vote, or this is pretty serious to all of us. We don't like that program, let's just table it.
Well, Frank, I think we called it back for 2 years.
Okay.
So the problem wasn't the board president, whichever one it was.
Yeah.
I think it was called back.
It was in the middle, the vote happened, there was two, it was transition and then the vote.
But there was never, another option was never offered. I'm
Okay.
always, I don't know if I've ever seen any good come out of a 4-3 vote
Yeah, they don't.
on the board or a church or anyplace else. And I think it's time for the leader to back up and say, listen, let's find something on which we all can agree. And that's the issue that I have about that.
Yeah, but I just think but that comes from the board, because he takes the direction of the board.
Yeah, I came in right in the middle of
Yeah,
that. That was
so
a real fun trial by fire.
And that's what I said, I think it's about pulling back, it's still up to the board. Because the superintendent works for you guys, but it still comes down to, sometimes you just gotta back up.
Yeah, I think
You weren't ready, technically, you weren't ready to vote.
And
Because you had
But it probably
three-
it comes back to your point about,
Yeah.
all stakeholders having a voice. All stakeholders had a voice, one was just louder and had a little bit more conversation with individuals.
Okay.
So I can't say we didn't spend enough time.
Right.
But I do
I
think.
wasn't here, so.
No, exactly. So again, I think that we spent more than enough time. In fact, there were some board members who didn't want to vote on it until the new group got in. So there were a lot of dynamics going on, but it is a very good example of the dysfunction that we've experienced over the last couple of years. And that is a touchstone for some people.
So if we could do it, if you guys could do it different, what would you do different?
If we could do it different, I would ask that we go back, we look at other programs with the goal of trying to get consensus. I believe that we all want SEL, we certainly all want what's best for children, and I think we would all support SEL. The issue was the program that was selected.
Okay.
So,
So did you pick this?
Just to
yeah, we picked.
just to add some more details. I disagree with your statement about us not being ready to vote for that curriculum. I think we
Okay,
certainly
like I
did.
said, okay,
Yeah.
you're fine. I handle criticism.
Sure. I think the amount of time that all of us spent researching that particular curriculum, talking to teachers, talking to principals in this district and outside of this district was immense. I'll speak for myself. I mean, hours and hours and hours and days of doing that, talking to people in buildings. I think the data, the majority of all the teachers in the district supported it. We're not here to talk about all the details, but the majority of the members of the community and the majority of the members, the majority of the teachers, they all were on board with it, right? And so we just had a very similar discussion last week about a math curriculum, right? And nobody asked questions about who developed the curriculum, what they stood for politically, religiously, etc. We didn't ask any of those questions, but we did in this instance because it was important to some of us. So from my perspective, I think if we were to vote again today, we probably have a very similar outcome. If we just disagreed on that, and that's okay, So just a little extra
They're just a
context.
rallying cry.
What's that?
They're just getting some. No, well, I just, we got.
It became a rallying cry for.
Yeah,
Yes.
it sure did. And I think, too, there's a lot to be learned from that experience, too, just even the process. And I think it goes back to our relationship with you and with central office. I mean, yeah, I spent a lot of time on that one. Lost a lot of sleep over that one. I think there's not just the curriculum, but the process, too, from my vantage point. Probably could have been improved. I know it was... and again, I'm coming in right in the middle of it, and that's like our first real vote we have to do. But I just look at, give me all of the data that I can have, because I knew how of a hot button issue this was. I think it was a lot harder to get the data to be able to parse through than it probably could have been. And it could be because I'm new and there's, a contentious time, but I think that's where we've got to try to kind of build that relationship and trust with central office and with Dr. Vanderjack. So I don't have to work so hard to get the data. I can't tell you how many surveys went out about that curriculum, and just hopefully we don't have to go through that type of a process anymore, because the process could have been different.
And I think the reason we had so many surveys and so much data is because the board asked for it, right? The board
Because
said, hey, we want to know more. So we compared based on the pilot program, all that kind of stuff. We're getting into the weeds here probably more than you want us to, Frank, but I think this is an example of those disagreements, right, and the trust.
But the other part though, we're openly discussing it, and we're not throwing stuff at people, and we're not fighting, and we're not, that's to me what the goal of this section is more about that than anything else, that to be able to talk as adults and, some, things that you learn in the process that went with it.
Well, the four voted for it, 3 voted against it. Never, ever once did it go through my mind that what in the heck are they doing? I thought that everybody, all 7 of us, as Andrew said, did a lot of work and looked at everything. And I mean, I had some very pointed discussions with her, with a couple of people. And yet, I don't disrespect what they did. And I never questioned their ability to be able to vote like that, or said it was evil or anything like that. I was just adamantly on the other side. But since we had that vote, I have never once said, I wish I knew what was wrong with Andrew, or what the heck is Nick thinking or not thinking. Not once. And all of us had, several conversations about that. So I don't disrespect people because they voted. It doesn't mean that they hate me. They just thought differently. So, I don't. But one of the things that you said, Frank, that I think is important is that perhaps as the president, maybe you have to take more responsibility, more power to just say, what, superintendent, we're not ready for this yet. We're going to sit back and I'm pulling this. And maybe there would have been 5 people who said, yeah, I'm in favor of that. I want to talk a little bit more about some of this stuff, because frankly, there was a survey that we got from the HEA 10 minutes before we voted, which was much, much different than the data from 3-month survey. That was troubling to me. But as far as anybody voting the way they did, I don't minimize you one bit for that, because you looked at it.
Yeah, and that's what I would say, even through consensus, you can use that at time, and apologies, I don't know anything that was going on, what you're talking about. But you can use that when you see you're not all there. Just take the time, so, hey, what else do you, but ask, what other information do you need to make a good decision? Because sometimes you can get information overload. And you're gonna go ahead and you're gonna look at it, and you just gotta, it's a gut check, hey, this is what we're going with, too, because I know it might be black today, it's gonna be white tomorrow, green the next day. So you just gotta make a decision, hey, we're gonna try to do this next time. I mean, I've seen some boards just to change lights to LED lights, take them 7 months to go ahead and just change them to LEDs, because they didn't trust the people that were making the presentation then. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is pretty easy. Here's cost analysis, here's this, everybody was going through it. And that could save the district $250,000 a year, just go to LEDs at no cost, so.
Just a question for Greg. Greg, I'm not sure, I don't remember who was president, you or Barb, but I'm not sure if the board president would have had the power to simply pull back and say, we're not going to do that.
The board president always has.
Based on what Frank says, they do.
The board president always has.
Well, hold it.
But I think that's a little different.
You can pull it from a vote. Because if you don't have consensus, you can say, hey, everybody, I'm just going to table this for the time being.
It was, just to be clear, it was set to be voted on
Okay.
in December,
Alright.
and it was pulled when
Okay.
it was like we weren't quite ready,
Yeah.
we wanted more data, and we had a new board coming on, so let's wait.
Okay.
So we collected more
Yeah, so you
data,
did.
waited, and pulled it, and that would have been the third time we pulled it.
Yeah.
And if it's as a board, if we set our SOAR goals, which are 3-year long, and as part of those SOAR goals, we say we need to establish something, we can pull it back, but at some point in time, if we
You gotta do
gave,
it.
right, because if we gave our central office, our superintendent this direction,
Sometimes you're not gonna keep everybody happy, and there are 4-3s, I just gotta,
Yeah.
sometimes you can't avoid it. You know, someone's gonna win, someone's gonna lose. As long as everybody leaves in support, hey, they get this one, you know what, it's not the end of the world. I mean,
hopefully
it
we
takes-
can get better at
It takes
that.
10 years,
Mhm.
so.
Yeah, I think because of some of those, if you will, divided votes that we've had, there are certain groups in our community who feel certain ways about certain members of the board, right? And that only continues that sort of rift, right, on issues, unfortunately. It's just the way it
No.
is.
The sad part is the school board never was meant to be political. Right?
It's not, it's not
It
political.
was never,
It's not.
ever meant to be political. And for some reason, through COVID and all of us only being able to watch TV and sit at home and do Zoom classes for kids and everything else. And I'm sure that experiment, I've seen everybody's MBA tests after the year everybody went back to school and, you know, try to figure out, am I in school this week or am I not in school? And hey, by the way, we gotta look at this video camera to see what kids were by that kid that had COVID. And now that whole room's gonna be, well, wait a sec, my kid was not next to him, but they were on the bus with him. Oh, geez, there goes the whole bus. And we were healthcare professionals for 2 years. We forgot all about schools and we gave everybody an opportunity to forget about what we were supposed to do.
You know, that isn't unique to a school system. I'm an elder at a church, and the issues that we went through in that organization and other 40 other pastors that I talked to, every one of them without exception said this is the worst thing that I've ever had to deal with.
I agree.
And so this isn't.
No, but.
Yeah, I understand that, but it isn't just, you know, the school, but everybody had to deal with that kind of stuff. And you're right, there are
It
issues
just,
that
it
arise
was,
from that.
things happen that we just can't take, you know, it was the worst experiment ever.
Right.
I mean, so again, you just gotta find systems that allow you to go ahead and build that trust. I mean, so, moving on. We talked about disagree and handle disagreements. You guys have said it here, and I think I heard you say it. Hold on, I forgot. Greg, thanks. Greg, you said it a couple times, and I've noticed you've been very respectful as I had. I didn't mean to ditch on you or anything else like that. You know, hey, that was how you believe, but you didn't. I noticed one of the positive things, you're not like berating someone right in the middle of the meeting. You know, say, hey, I totally think you're off your rocker, or stuff like that. You know, it's about respecting and even saying that, hey, I respect your opinion, we don't agree with each other. You're just not, you know, it's okay sometimes. You're 7 different people here. That's what's kind of cool. Trying to come up with a general idea. I guess some of this deal with controversial items. And I gotta deal with conflicts, but they're all kind of the same thing. I really think you guys, and I'm gonna go back to this thing, I think you guys gotta learn how y'all communicate together. That could really help, and it can be a fun exercise, it's not but it just, I think some of you probably have done it through how that person relates, how that person communicates. Are they a numbers person? Are they an influencer gonna try to talk you into everything you got? Or are they a person that's just gonna sit back and not, you know, it's how you can communicate more effectively with each other. And by doing that, you create a cohesive team. I think all of you have kids here, right? If I'm not mistaken, when I read all your bios.
Two of you.
Okay, in the district, right? But all of you have had kids, so.
Yes.
And you had that one kid that you had to communicate this way with, and you have this other kid over here you communicated totally different with, right? Well, that's how we're all the same thing, so we just gotta learn how to, you know, we don't have to be hanging out and they were gonna spend the weekend together as couples, but on the other end, how can you still go ahead with a mode of respect and deal with each other? You know, and that's what's nice about the disc. If you understand that someone is an influencer, how do you get them to say, hold on a sec, let's take a look at these numbers. I want to show you, yeah, you're all on board, but this is where my concern is at in there. And they're going to say, oh yeah, you know, that's how you work with each other. Any questions? No.
I guess I'll just say real quick, I just appreciate, I mean, I've picked up the phone and called every single one of these people in the last month and a half, you know, and just chat with them. Like, we're all humans, we're all people. And I have a lot of respect for everybody in this room, and we have great conversations. Maybe Mark, it's been longer than a month and a half.
It's been longer.
For you and I, we had breakfast, but,
That's right.
I'll just say when it comes to communication, I mean, I'm the kind of person that's like, hey, like, not trying to build consensus outside of a board meeting, right? But just talk about what's on our mind, right? And I think that helps with the relationship, you know, one-on-one, but it also helps, you know, for when times are tough, right? When tough decisions need to be made, if you've got that trust and you have that relationship, it makes those tough times easier.
You know, I want to say something publicly here. A couple of weeks ago, I got a call from a board member, and I want to commend Ken. Ken called me, and he talked to me about an issue. I could have maybe said, what the heck do you think you're calling me about? But I didn't. I said I was very gracious and sincerely gracious because I appreciated him taking the time to call me. I appreciated him saying to me, Greg, you know, I think you could have done this a little bit better. And I told him that. I said, Ken, thank you very much for calling me. I didn't, you know, I said, and I followed up on what he asked me to do, or what he said. And so, you know, that's the kind of stuff where he put himself out there a little bit, because I could have just said, you know, well, who do you think you are? But I was sincerely appreciative of the fact that you reached out to me about a concern, and I told you that, and so those are the types of things that people don't see happening.
No, they should see what's on the video.
Right. And so, I mean, and we have some disagreements, but going back to what I said earlier, I respect him as an individual who, even though he thinks differently than me on some things, doesn't mean he's wrong and I'm right all the time. It's just, that's the way that we feel. And so, anyway, thank you for that phone call, Ken. I appreciate it.
And thanks for that follow-up and comment.
Mm-hmm.
But that is part of what just happened there, and that's part of coming together as a team, you know, with differing opinions and reaching out and stuff like that. So, say with fracture to go, it's all improved, but just below service. Again, it's about, like you said, on the small part, take ownership of where you guys, you know, look like you're disjointed. But even on that 4-3 vote, you can take another vote, which is one thing they strongly represent, that we will accept as a group. You can ask for a motion, and you can take that motion up as to saying, I'm now asking for a motion that we're going to support the decision of the majority of the board. And that's where you come up with that 7-0 vote. Even though you had a 4-3, that you're going to accept all decisions. You know, one of the things it says on your board norms, right? Wait, your board norms, your code of conduct. That even if it was something that you didn't agree with, that you would leave the meeting in agreement with it, right? You can make a motion, and it doesn't have to be on the agenda, just like seeing it as superintendent votes. You can make a motion. Someone can make a motion. I'd like to make a motion that we will support the decision of the board as a whole to support this. Yeah, it might get a 6-1 or 7, you know. But the idea is that it shows you're a team, that yeah, you might not have gotten what you wanted, but it also shows you're going to support what you've already signed on your board code of conduct, that you're going to go ahead and support the board majority. And that really takes some power away from the people that want to go ahead and mess you all up. It doesn't mean you didn't take the other vote. It just means, hey, guess what? I'm a graceful loser. hey, we're gonna move on, we gotta get other stuff done. Does that make, does that?
It's a great idea.
But you can do that, and so it does get you a little bit out of that when that 4-3 does happen, or 3-4 happens. Hey, okay, back to the drawing board again, we gotta find something different. But
You know,
it should-
for me, it's a given, no matter what the vote is, I'm gonna support it. I mean, that, when I came on this board, you know, no matter what I voted, if the group voted one way, then walking out of that door, I was gonna support that vote, okay?
So, and I get what you're saying, but what's happening in today, it's the image that it portrays to every, it's really sad, because now we're so concerned about how it looks, and realistically, there's some things and some people that just like nothing better than disarray. And but by going ahead and attacking it that way, hey, you know what? We all took this. It's more about like that you still support each other as a team. That's what you're making the vote on. It's that you support-
Sends a message as to how the
Yeah.
board operates. to the
like nobody
community.
kicks the middle linebacker out, or nobody, so-and-so did, he still may pay for the line, the guy that dropped the 3 passes, you know,
Not gonna
from LA Rams, but he's still part of the team. You know, he wasn't kicked out of the team because he dropped the 3 passes.
You know, but Frank, I gotta tell, there are votes of conscience for me,
Yeah, that's fine.
okay? And so, I don't really think to go, and this is my opinion, I thought, to go back and have a 7-0 vote and a 4-3 vote, you know, that one, I'm kind of lost with it.
Yeah, the only reason is that you support, that it goes back to what you signed on that back piece of paper, that it's just back to that back piece of paper, that we're gonna support the majority of the board vote, that's all it does. So it's not, the idea, it's,
I understand what you're saying.
that's what it is,
Yeah,
okay?
because we have teachers that think that we don't support them because we voted no on the ruler, which is the furthest thing from the truth.
Mhm.
And it's almost like now, even with some people, I think I could stand on my head and they wouldn't change what they thought of me.
Let's give it a shot.
No, but you gotta start somewhere.
Yeah, you're
So-
right. You're right.
Mississippi
But
River,
that's
river
where,
starts somewhere in
something
Wisconsin.
like that would help.
Yeah, but what it does do that, because, hey, hold on here, so. Okay. All right, hey, guess what, we're on to number 2, and we'll just take a quick break, because I know I'm 5 minutes early, just get back at 7:05. How's that? So we're gonna go to this one, this is a pretty quick one, so you guys, commit to high vision of expectations, you guys are on board there. Ensure the district has comprehensive performance-based. I wanna let you know what was really unique about your guys' stuff, this is the one everybody does really, I got reds and oranges on. So it was kinda unique because you guys have your thought processes about the leadership thing, but you guys are like right on like, I wish I could share this to other people because you feel so the information you're getting, this is in there. That says a lot. You define clear goals for student achievement effective. Review progress toward the long and short-term goals. And I was looking out there, you guys have, I was looking at some of your board meetings, you're having reports, you have the different department heads come in and tell them what you're working on, what they're doing, what the results are. Way to go. Way to go. And that also means you're giving your superintendent some direction to go ahead and hey, what's expected in that. That's how that comes out. That isn't just like a miracle. You ding, got a match one and ding, there it is. That means through time and effort, you gotta send you the information, know what's going on. We'll get back to focus on issues that impact student achievement. I want to get into that a tiny bit. Because what's really kind of weird is we're all good up here, and I don't understand why that would be different. And ensure indicators of achievement are established. So you must, again, up here we're saying define clear goals, we're doing that. But down here you're saying ensure indicators that define are established. So I don't understand why the difference. Those are basically the same thing. Does that make sense?
I think it gets back to the points that Greg has made and others have made, that some of, when you say that's in the best interest of all students, not everyone on the board agrees what's in the best interest.
Okay.
I think it also speaks to the things that some on the board would consider to be non-academic. So for instance, the social emotional learning, something to do with diversity. They may not necessarily see those as student achievement indicators or things that we should be focusing on. So in my opinion, at least, I think 5, 6, and 7 all are wrapped up into that little ball.
Yeah, well, decisions and what items is what's best for students. See what the comments are. Is it regular to use it, scorecard, public focus on a strategic, and I'm not gonna go on to one, just because most of them are green, they're not like orange or anything. Evaluates compliance with Michigan law. Who did the one on that one? Just for the heck of it, because you guys you're using an approved, state-approved MASB thing, so I saw that one said needs improvement. Is that, because that is changing, by the way, so test scores, as soon as she signs it, it's going to 20%, right? 20% for student, what is that?
Local.
Yeah, local only. And then they're also changing, there's only 3, there's highly,
Developing, emerging, impact.
yeah. So effective, emerging, highly effective, those are the 3, so there's no more highly effective anymore. Starting, 24-25 school year.
Mhm.
Right, yeah. No, 24-25. But you're gonna be required to do touch at least once every 6 months to a review. That got voted out?
No, it's not part of
Oh, it isn't, so.
it. There's a lot, there's still a lot.
Okay, so, thanks for telling me that, because I teach superintendent evaluation, and they didn't tell me that the other day, so it's a work in progress, so
Yes.
we can't come out with anything yet about even changing how that looks and all that.
But the rubric hasn't changed.
Yeah, the rubric's all the same. And then celebrate success at all levels of system that improves district permit. And, we have some across, so I think. Our board is not fully rather common vision promoting achievement for all students. Value energy test by the top set responsibilities during his staff. And some more preliminary dashboard achieving. You guys got a I saw your dashboard. That was easily findable, by the way, and congratulations, you guys for even having one. 1, a strategic plan. 2, a strategic plan you're looking at. I've got a lot of people that did theirs in 2020 that haven't looked at it since. Does everybody know what March 17th, 2000 was?
That was when they declared the pandemic.
Yeah, ruined a lot of people's St. Patty's Day that day. But March 17th, 2020 is the date that'll live in infamy. What were you doing when your schools got closed? That's like one of
My spring break
Actually,
means it can't.
13th when they start most schools now. So
Yeah.
Friday 13th.
Deposit back.
17 is when they shut down the rest of the economy.
17th they shut down the bars.
Yeah, and the whole economy, everything got shut down.
But the schools were shut down on 13th.
Yeah. So we too much on it. Seems that at times we focus too much on issues agenda and not as much on students. And I also think consider being more transparent. So what if it isn't strong? What would you guys like to see? I mean, you guys know if you're doing a strategic plan, if you're not strong in certain areas, what would you like to see if it isn't strong? Like, I mean, you got goals. That's what I don't get.
Well, I think that I'll speak for myself, the strategic plan is strong, well planned out, thorough, thoughtful strategic plan. And so why are you asking me a question that you perceive it not being strong?
Because of the
Oh, you're in the bottom. Oh,
Yeah.
oh, okay, so then,
That's because I don't get it. Because all the 5 down up above, you guys got measurements and everything else, but then I get this, and I go, so, because I saw some of the reports, I mean, you guys are addressing the parts that you're short, or I've seen the plan. I mean, you guys got it on the website, areas that, hey, this wasn't as good, we know we gotta work on this. according to my wife, I mean, she's a school teacher, that 4th grade becomes that 5th grade, becomes that 6th grade, and that's just what happens, is you get trying to justify a way to get to them.
I think this is one of our strengths.
I do too, that's why I'm trying to understand what the issue was there.
I just think,
It could be, I don't know, I don't have any idea, no, I would just skip through it, is everybody okay with that?
Mhm.
Bing. Okay, gone, board responsibilities. Okay, so because some of you guys are CBA 1, 2s, level 1, so most of you are. So you understand you're the policy-making body, correct? That's one of your 3 jobs, finances, policy-making, advisory, and the superintendent. That's the 3 that are in there. Focus on policy issues rather than refer up. How do you guys do that now, like issues that come up, district-wide issues? What's your method of doing that? I mean, because it's evidently an issue.
204.
Number 2, Q2.
I think there's context, and we've had several that you don't have. We've had several conversations over the past year or so where, a board member spoke to a person from the public or something like that, and that's maybe been perceived by certain folks as going around Dr. Vanderjack. Whether that's accurate or not, it's perception, I think, on some of these topics. So that would be
one of the things, if you guys can get used to it, is by running communication, copying the board president, and if it's going to the superintendent, it just gets everybody in the loop, and it allows for a one-way, so there's a two-way conversation, there's two-way, but also if all of a sudden you see it's the same issue coming up, then you can bring it up. Otherwise, it keeps people in the loop of, hey, here's an issue that's coming up, but he needs to know there's no surprises. And if you guys aren't having surprises, then you're already doing that, right? I mean, is there like major surprises you guys are doing or stuff like that? Because that's always the big rule. The super's got to, running 1,000 people, I don't know how you do it because that's tough enough to get told every little thing that's happening in the district of 6,800 kids.
Again, my opinion is that between weekly board briefs that get sent out by the superintendent with a lot of information. So you have that, you have emails that come out, the communication that come out, if something were to happen in the district, there's a bus accident or something like that, and there are texts that come out. I think there's a level of communication that, again, in my experience anyway, speaking for myself, I've not seen in the past. So it's actually a very high level of communication and engagement with board members. I can't think of a time I've been surprised.
I think,
other than COVID.
yeah, I think I may have been one of the, we're looking at 2 still, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think there are some folks on the board that go to the superintendent with all issues, and there are some people that are related to the district, and there are some people on the board that don't. They'll go to somebody else. And so that's why I
Just make sure you follow the chain of command,
Right.
so that because otherwise it causes a problem. I had one board I was working with, they waited till the performance evaluation, till any issue was given. Needless to say, he was only there for a year, and went to a new district, because he had gone through 2 years of it, and he said, that's it, I can't. It just, if you got issues, bring them up as they come up, but you just don't wait till the bitter end to tell anybody.
I think this is maybe where micromanaging comes in, and some of that again is because we have had in the last several years new people come on, and trying to understand the distinction between the board's role and the superintendent's role, and thinking about whether it's a policy issue or a management issue and what that looks like.
Yeah.
And I mean, that takes time.
Oh, it takes a long time. I know when I started, I thought it was going to run like a business. You got assets coming in, you got money coming in, you got money going out, you got this. And then you found out it was a government entity.
Yeah.
And then you found out there's money coming from places I've never even heard of that you're only allowed to use one. It took me forever to get to, was it 43, 40, I don't even know. And then trying to tell the other board members not to use acronyms because I don't understand it. And then after 3 years, I'm using those same acronyms, and I got new people coming in, and they're looking at me and they're going, "Oh shoot!" So I started. So then I took this other board I was working with. I went back to one of the board meetings later, and so every time someone bring up a number, someone say, "Hey, what does that mean?" So that way, the audience has no idea where all this. And then you might not have it next year. Nobody understands you don't have it next year. You know, but I knew it. It took me a while to realize it was an X-nose type business. It was definitely, schools are not a business. It is so far from the truth. I mean, we measure by graduation rates. We measure by attendance. We measure by grades. But we don't measure by, hey, by the way, in 10 years, are you successful? You know, so when you see all that was really kind of amazing to me. So it isn't like, you know, you got a car coming in, you put the tires on, you can sell it for 15% margin. You know, that it doesn't work that way. And our margin is how well we do as board members. You know, that's your legacy.
Yeah, to pick up on Dawn's comment, I agree. After sitting here reading this one and thinking about it, that's I'm maybe one of the threes as well. That's we're a governance body, and we're not a management body.
It's hard. Yeah.
And understanding that differential is hard and can take some time.
Yeah, I think what it's more like, to go with what you're saying, we're more like a highly, let's use Ford Motor Company, brought that up easier. Nobody's going to ask, what's his name? Let's use someone else. Barry. I don't even remember who the board president is of Ford anymore. But nobody's going to tell them, hey, by the way, you don't make enough cars on that line. You know, there's not enough, and et cetera, et cetera. He just manages through what the numbers are. Who's this person? I got to translate that back down. And that's what's hard when I got on board, is just understanding I had policy and how, in the methods of how we got to that and to get the information. Because there's a lot of trust that goes around with everybody. And that's just, you know. Okay. Provide through policy by which the board deals with complaints from the public and consistently uses the process. We kind of went through one way to do it. You know, when I said you can address it in the board, that's one thing. Just because people need to be known that they're heard, because that's how we treat anybody. The other way is if it's something that comes up and it's. So when I looked at it, if it's most of the stuff that I saw looked like it was after you guys, but I saw the thing about bullying came up. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with stating in there, hey, we got this policy, we don't approve of bullying. You know, this is what we're gonna do, and here's, you know, and then basically all you do is say, Doug will just show you, hey, here's some of here's some of our processes that we do when we find out that there's bullying. That's it. He can send it over to his person or his administrator or whatever to take care of it and become, you know, just want to slide it off. But you got to go ahead. Your policies are covering most of these issues that are stated that people bring up. You know, there's something in there about bullying. You voted on it. You vote on it every year. You know, and you take that seriously because you don't want any kid to get hurt on your watch. That's for sure. Don't want to make the news for bad things. But that's another way you can do it. So if someone comes and talks about it, say, hey, we have a pop, you know, this is some of our plan, or, you know, but things like that, you just push it over to the soup and he delegates it to someone else. And even on his report, you can just send to the report, hey, I address it with that individual, I show him, you know, this is how I put it over to this person, or, you know, we communicate what our goal is. Willingly embrace the teaching, we already got it, spent time on that. Timelines for district goals, you guys are doing it. That's why I was surprised the 1-in-1 is showing up. Because I saw you guys, I just watched the movie you guys did. I mean, you guys are doing SMART goals. Just gotta remember the measurables. Okay, don't get caught up in.
Yeah, I think I was not one of the writer ones on this one, but I do. So this is about the board, right?
Yeah.
Dr. Vanderbeck does a lot of things to support the board. Maybe I'm just speculating here. Maybe there's something that's saying, hey, as a board, are we setting our own goals in parallel with the
Do
district
you guys do
goals?
retreats or anything like that? That's another good team building thing. See, that's what, I mean, some of the greatest things we had, we got rid of, we forgot.
Yeah.
So anytime you can get a retreat together, like, you do a nice thing, you know, just do something to build team building. You know, just something.
Can you do a retreat though with the opens meetings?
Yep, can do. Just
We
don't,
used to.
that's where I did my disc test. So, go to a place, do a disc test, someplace else, if someone wants to show up and watch, go ahead, we'll be bored for 4 hours, if that's what they wanna do, that's fine. But the idea is to build a team of people, you're not trying to keep anything hidden. You know, it isn't there, that we always gotta meet, but you can always pick a retreat, hey, let's go do that, you know? It might be going to Arnott's for the day, and just build it, as long as you're not negotiating, as long as you're not deliberating, anything like that, you still gotta post it, hey, we're gonna have a board retreat, I'll go down the water slide at Arnie's. You know, you can do that, just don't deliberate.
And it's also be public meeting.
It's a public meeting, they had to buy their, you know, opening comments is a little bit different before you get on the slide, but.
So I think some of these, like
Yeah.
number 9 as well, systems of accountability are in place at all levels. Like I think, again, I'm not an orange or red one here either, but I think that there could be maybe some people here, I don't know, speak up if you do, think that obviously we certain, with Doug's leadership, the district and his staff view things one way. Maybe the board thinks we're differentiating between him and what he does and what we're supposed to do.
Right,
You know,
right.
I don't know. Speculative.
Because the other thing you can do too is, I've seen some boards just do basically that annual meeting, it's after your like your organizational meeting. Just what some goals you guys want to get done that year, what are some things that you want to work toward that might, as a group, that align with everybody, you know, what are some goals you'd like to get achieved, you know?
And that's actually one of the things we've been working on since October. We had talked about putting together some certain goals. And one of the things that we've been working on, but it's taken several meetings to do so, is reviewing our code of conduct. And so that was one of our goals. We haven't gotten to the end to say, okay, do we need to make some tweaks? But we have started on that road of informally or formally creating some goals.
And the public's still invited, they can video and all that stuff, it's not, you know, but it's a little more relaxed. You know, it's still, but it's just a way to get to know each other sometimes more on a personal basis, because you're not deliberating through some of it. Like I've seen people do a dinner together and just have a dinner at a nice place and just talk and just get to know each other, just don't deliberate issues, you know. So you can do that, it is allowable. It's, you know, but come on with something different. Use structures and processes to keep the district strategic. You guys are already there, so you guys are already doing your touch points and all that. Well, understand that, and I've been spending time on the budget. So the budget, which is a little bit, it's a little bit different, but I know you guys are allowed to change it 3 times. It is a projection, it changes all the time, it's not, you guys don't know that, right? Provide feedback, that's fine. Monitor just a regular scheduled time, this is where you guys are on the other end, you guys said you were all doing it, that's why it's kind of like, it went down a different rabbit hole. So how do you guys use a Google Calendar at all for things that, like reports you know you gotta have by a certain time? So they're already preloaded? Okay.
For administration.
Yeah. But you can do the same thing with the board, you know, budget approvals always this time. I didn't know. I know some districts have certain reports they do all the time. Like you could put out their superintendent midpoint touch is X, or you just already pre-schedule into your meeting agendas. Just to make it easier.
I think you touched on a really good point. because sometimes we have lost track of certain timeframes. Not anybody's fault, but if there was, and if there is one, boy, I'm gonna really feel dumb, but if there was a board calendar that said, as a reminder, like, you know, Barb would have talked about by such and such a date we do this, it would probably be helpful to possibly do something like that, so that it's like, oh, right, don't we have this coming up? I don't have to bother Barb, or I don't have to check with Robin or Doug.
Yeah, it's already out there, because like, you got an ISD report, right, that's gotta come, does that work, send it over here?
Yeah, we don't have a board calendar.
We get an ISD, so we know.
Yeah, we don't have a board calendar. I know this year for the superintendent's check-in points, I have dates for those.
But if you put them on the
It's
Google
not in
calendar, I guess
Right.
you have regular reporting that was supposed to, our touch points, or you wanted to remember, I don't know.
Well, and our SOAR updates, you know, we get those occasionally, but then if it's in our minds, like, when was the last SOAR update? So that might be something that we can take a look at.
I think it's a great idea. I mean, because Robin and Doug are phenomenal at, you know, keeping us up to date on all that stuff. It's the proverbial, they get hit by a bus, who's gonna pick it up and remember, and we don't have all those dates memorized, so.
Right, but it just helps you with the agenda. Okay. Board must work toward better, so sir, we talked about.
About half hour.
Okay,
Over
we're
halfway
going.
gone.
Okay.
What time is one?
Oh, no, that's good. What effect was that? The other one I had, hold on, yeah, that was. Just a sec, I gotta go back over here. Did you guys scored well, you know? Board effectiveness. So I'm gonna skip over, I'm gonna come back to this one, okay? I wanna let you guys know, the data-driven decision-making, have the right data to make, that was good, that was good. Use appropriate data. And this is, I mean, if all could be I'll believe you're using the right data, combine base decisions, comments, and questions. What were you guys thinking of 5, 6, and 7 on the other ones? That's what I just did. What kind of data and is accountable to the community for continuous improvement? Because you guys posted on your strategic plan, that's why I didn't get that. I mean, it's like, you got the measurement already in there, but do you understand the measurements there?
What page is it?
That is page 18.
Page 15 in your handout.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Oh, do you think page?
It's,
No, data driven. I really skipped that one.
it's 19.
I'm going back to that other one.
Okay,
I'm doing easy.
We're on page 19
Thank you.
in this packet.
Sorry.
oh, okay, so the header's on 18 and the questions are on, okay, I see.
Yeah, so I guess use appropriate data for district-wide decision-making as accountable to the community for continuous improvement. Combine perception data with other indicators. That was not that big. Base decision comments and questions on objective data. Is there something in there I'm not? Because what's really kind of weird is up here, distinguish between data needed for district-wide decision-making and data needed for technical and operational decision. And we come down here, and this is like, just says the opposite. Theory said the opposite. Is it, did you read it differently than I
Number
did?
5 has 2.
I think this goes back to, so question 3 is distinguishing what data and information we need to make decisions. That's why I read that.
All right.
Number 7 is, are we using the data to make those decisions, or are there other
Okay.
things at play in how the board decides?
Okay.
And this is going back to, again, I'll bring it up again, the ruler thing, right? The data suggested one thing, we beat it to death,
And now it's an inch.
and it was a 4-3 vote. Okay, so did we get the data we needed? Are we using data that we think we need? Yes. Are we using that data to make decisions? That's not, does anyone else? Does that make sense?
So this is just for rehashing what we just talked about. Okay.
I don't know that we're hearing from the people who are orange and red, but it would seem to be, it goes back to those same things.
Which we discussed, or which we discussed.
Some of my questions are just different on my packet than here.
Yeah, I think there's one missing on this screen.
It's the size is different, so this one goes through 7, this one goes through 9, but
Yeah.
it repeats in the next page.
Well, on page 19 that I have, see, it is slightly different.
Question 2 is different.
19, right there.
No, let's see.
Right there.
Go back.
Question 2, question 5.
Question 2.
What page are you on?
Yeah.
Sure student, I've got a 1, a 4, and a 2. For
Yeah.
sure student.
Wait, no, were you on the end, just
The question's the same,
decision
the data
making?
is different.
Yes.
The date is
Yeah.
different.
The question's the same, the,
My
See,
dad-
this is why we question data, Fred.
I'm bringing the data in.
Another thing there.
I know this is right, that's not last year's, so that's this year's. And I sent you over, yeah, so that's
I
the
just
one
printed
that
this,
happened.
this
Yeah,
is
I know.
different. To Nick's point, question 2's data is slightly different on here.
Mhm.
It's 2, instead of 5, it says 4, and then there's 1 red,
Oh,
1 for red. The next one's the same, the next one's right,
The
and
next
the
one
next
is
Q6 is,
Q6
Q5 is not the same.
What is this one then?
That's right, Q6
That's
is right, and Q7 is right.
Q6 is right,
Q6 is
Q7 is not, Q5 is not.
So what is Q7, so I apologize.
Oh, 7?
7 is correct.
7 is correct, sorry, I went back.
Seven is-
It's just 2 and 5, I think.
That's
Ten,
it.
five, and
It's
actual.
2 and 5, yeah.
Okay, so what does 2 show on yours?
Two
It
has
shows 1, 5, 2, and the 1 is red. So
Okay.
1 red,
4,
One,
Four,
and
because
then
I got 152 means I got 1 too many.
1, 4,
Sorry,
2.
1, 4, 2.
Okay, all right.
And question 5 is actually 1, 1, 3, 2.
1, 1. Oh, okay. So I apologize, because I sent this.
You're about 2,800.
So let me tell you, my experience with this is they sent it over to me in a Word document, I couldn't go ahead and pull it up and put it into my PPT. So then I had to resend it to them, so I don't know what happened. That's the only, that's the only
that's the one.
Okay, so I apologize ahead of time. So see, my dad is already wrong. I apologize
You're
tremendously.
screwing with
I'm
us.
owning it.
Can you turn the next page?
So then,
That's-
use data to access outcomes.
That's correct.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, or 5, and recognize the need to. I mean, I don't understand the ones. Can anybody explain that to me? Because it looks like the balance is on the right other side. Satisfactory on up. Someone in a bad mood that day.
I think this is an area, I think collectively as a board, I think we're really good at analyzing the data. I mean, I think we're great. I mean, this is a perfect example, Frank. There's been a handful of times when we've been given information that was incorrect.
Hang on today.
And again, a perfect example, there was a great presentation in January at a work session here. There was a slide with the data. Again, a lot of time goes into preparing these PowerPoints for a meeting. Well, they're like, oh, the data's incorrect on this slide. And so then we just kind of moved on from it. So like, what should our response or expectation be on that? Like, because this is like a
Yeah, because it happens, it's
Yeah.
happened, I can see it. Just ask me the next meeting, can you give us all the data, just so we can see it, that's it. Because things happen, if you don't know,
Yeah.
I mean, that's, can we bring it up at the next meeting, so you just show us that data?
or
You know, so
email.
that way
Is
it's
it
open,
appropriate
because you're
to
doing it in
just
the open meetings, and just do it that way, just carry it
Sure.
on. Mistakes happen, I mean, look at mine, when I just found out I got 2 questions wrong, I saw them how that happens. And the pages were right, so I noticed they were 18 and 19, so it wasn't because they slipped to different pages.
I think you were just checking to see if we were paying attention.
That could be it, evidently you are data
and
savvy.
from a process standpoint, Frank, just so I'm clear, from an OMA standpoint, it would not be appropriate for them to send the slide to us after the fact.
No.
Because it might be
Because-
something we'd have to.
You're right. I mean,
Yeah.
it just, the more, anytime you're thinking about, the moment that OMA comes up, do it on public. The moment you even think about it, just do it. That way, you're not hiding anything.
What was your question,
But whether or not the follow-up slide with correct data could be sent by email to the board after the meeting.
Nick? You're saying that would be a violation of?
No, it wouldn't be.
Oh, okay.
Because you're not deliberating.
But
you're
he's just
sharing
saying
information.
it might be
But you
advisable.
have a information savvy group here, so I would probably make sure I bring up, hey, by the way, here's my missing slide, and that's it. You know? And you can still share it to you guys ahead of time, but I would just bring it up for me, hey, shows you the meeting.
And we have the people in the audience.
Things happen. We're all human.
Cool.
Yeah, more critical, yeah, I mean, that, basically, you guys talk about the board. And same thing, okay, board superintendent, I'm gonna go back over this other one. Next one. All right. Board effectiveness, focus the board agenda, issues relating. I mean, make sure when you're doing the agenda, that agenda is always more about the students. There used to be a study, people used to keep track, how much was dealt with operations and how much was spent on students. And some of them were spending 90% of the time talking about the budget and 10% time talking about things, management issues, stuff like that. You guys spend more time talking about, hey, the kids got to this and the data that Doug's providing you. Spend more time on talking about students and student achievement, so you're doing what you're supposed to do. When the fiscal stuff's falling apart, you're gonna know, there's gonna be reports where you shouldn't have that happen, but spend more time about student achievement. How do you get all kids to be successful? We used to keep, I got some boards that keep track, and they put down their 20 minutes on this, 10 minutes on this, 15 minutes on this. So all of a sudden, that was student achievement. If you can spend 80% of your time on student achievement, student goals, and helping them move up, then you're succeeding as a board. If you're saying all sorts of time micromanaging, you're not talking about student achievement, and you're you're doing the wrong thing. It's kind of like at home. You guys can do this, and this before I go watch. You just want to get it managed according to your focus on students. Conduct board meetings efficiently and effectively. Any suggestions there? You guys got a lot of people come to talk, so. And the two that come to mind, and that was just the last video I watched, was the guy from Consumers Energy that came in and talked. And you can't ever feel bad about telling him, hold on, he could have talked. There's 3 minutes of your life you're not going to get back again. And I don't mean that rude. Maybe I am. But they're using it as a sounding board. What he talked about for Consumers Energy, you can just go and talk to Doug and say, hey, I'll let you know I'm your liaison for Consumers Energy. If you got a problem, give me a call. You didn't have to come to the board to do that.
I thought we had to let everyone.
You can make the decision ahead of time. There are things, that was one of those things that has nothing to do, and that's one of those you could pull them aside and say, hey, what are you talking? Did you fill out a sheet to even come and talk? You don't have to let everybody talk, otherwise.
They all have a link that they can sign up.
Right, but that doesn't
They
give
don't know
them.
what they're gonna talk about, they have a link.
This isn't, some of the boards think that we're here to do business of the board, et cetera, et cetera. But where do you stop on who you let talk or don't talk?
I'd be reluctant to truncate that at all.
Okay?
We
That's not
could
good.
have more problems if we
All right.
tried it.
I think we
I
can.
think we would be in trouble if we tried to.
That's a pretty rare, I mean, there's been a,
We had the person that's on the ballot for, it's like,
Prosecutor.
I know you only need 3 times instead of
I don't think Frank would advocate that we split between somebody who's coming to, even if it's to express strong opinions. I don't think you're drawing a line more between if the consumer's power, I'm just here for
Yeah, the consumer's
information,
power, the person
or
running
somebody
for
comes
office.
in and says, I'm running for
You
office.
can't do that yourselves. So how many more people do you want to have here? Do you want everybody on the ballot?
This fall, it would probably be hundreds.
And you gotta make, I don't know.
So who controls that? We don't.
I actually, because I saw what happened, I called Brad and asked him, and it's how each individual board handles it. Because I asked him, he says, it is a sticky wicket. It isn't, but that people feel this is a place to do it. Where does it stop? I mean, I think sometimes it's about sitting with the individual. I said, this is about school stuff. It isn't about elections. It isn't.
I don't know, the next time our power goes out, if it takes 5 days to come back, we'll know why.
That's not what I mean. I mean, I guess what I'm saying is, you gotta, that the ability to speak, I'm not trying to take anybody's ability to free speech, so don't take it that way. But some of this, you gotta start questioning, okay, how many people are gonna be on November's ballot? Do you want them all here?
I think this is such a unique instance. I really appreciate the feedback you gave us earlier tonight about kind of just humanizing our relationships, because for the most part, it's the same group of people that speaks regularly, and I'd far rather build a relationship with them and all of that than.
Like I said, I checked because I thought it was crossing over.
I was sitting there watching what Dr. Vanjak planted that guy for us. I was like, listen to this guy.
No, so that's, I mean, just, okay, that's just my opinion, so don't, like I said, I called Brad just to make sure, because it was
It's
just,
good to know.
it was just wild to me, because I've never seen that happen.
I think but I think it's a thing for us to keep in mind, because again, 4 years ago, we had COVID. 4 years ago was the last time we had a major election. We don't know between now and November how many people are gonna come and speak. And so this may be at least in the back of our mind thinking, okay, do we want to talk about whether or not we should at least say something when they sign up? Consider this is really just about school, we would prefer, and not say they can't, but let them know.
I would,
that-
and again, check with Brad before you do anything, just because I was just blown away, I've never seen that happen, right? It's like the first time ever.
After that prosecutor came and talked, I went and looked at our policy, and I was like, well, technically, based on our policy?
Yeah.
No, I know.
Yeah,
She-
and
no.
you know, and again, Harvey says, yeah, so what? But, like you said, if it's 10 for the next 10 months,
Okay. Ensure we did already get the decisions, our personal objective and professional, we already went through that. Understand that is public, I want to go right to there. We represent the entire community and refrain from making decisions based on special interest groups, and then understand that its public model effective decision-making process is as important as any of the decisions it makes. So I want to talk, we talked briefly about that, the 4-3 vote, one of the way about pulling yourself back together is effective decision-making process. It's okay to have split votes, just make sure you support each other as the votes, after the vote's been given. As it represents the entire community, refrain from making decisions based on special interest groups. That's, I don't know how you guys are gonna change that stigma, other than slowly start commenting as people are looking for everything that you breathe wrong or anything else like that. You just, because, you know, I'm 2 counties away, we've had similar situations, but I went and addressed some groups that I thought we had to get a better understanding, so they didn't understand we weren't supplying, and they were showing up because they thought we were putting kitty litter boxes outside the doors. True story. We had 40 ladies show up to a board meeting, so I knew the one lady and I said, hey, this isn't happening, you know. But remember, it's about all students, it's not about special interest groups. We don't have an ID or an R next to our names. Any thoughts, questions? Okay, here, board superintendent relations. So this is the last one. 21 to 25. So create an environment that discourages micromanage undermining the superintendent. How can you guys create an environment that doesn't undermine the superintendent? Because it also said, I mean, and then down here, work with superintendent, spirit of mutual respect, open communication, trust, and confidence. Because if I showed you 1960, and if I go back to that very first, things were going really well. And then all of a sudden, 2 years later, we're here. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. You guys were like 3/4 way higher.
Well, there are some, there's been an election on the boards between then and now. And there are some on the board who, this is I think, a big part of the crux of the leadership and some of the other issues we talked about earlier. There's someone on the board who don't trust the superintendent, for
And that just blows my mind, because it's not highly effective rating, I can't, it just doesn't tie in together. I mean, that's what just blows my mind away, because how can you not trust somebody you just gave a highly effective rating to?
If you go and look at that evaluation tool, okay, in my opinion, and I've done a lot of evaluations in the past, in my opinion, that evaluation tool is not fully appropriate for a leader in the position and with the many things that he's tasked to do, he or she is tasked to do.
And where I would disagree with you,
Okay.
and is that when you look, if you've already taken the board self-evaluation, that was done through almost 500 different studies throughout the country on how to put that together. It wasn't somebody sitting in a room and picking, I'm gonna pick this apple, I'm gonna pick this apple, I'm gonna pick this apple. It was all about, they went and looked at highly effective school superintendents throughout the country and put that sheet together through numerous things. I mean, more so than the typical evaluation we get at work. Did you show up to work on time? Yes. I mean, those questions that are on there are very, very specific and thought out due to data that was created over this big thing. And it doesn't look like my work ones either, that we do for our people, whether it's a service tech or someone else. And that's what I'm kind of having a hard time is, it's not your, but so these thousands of people put this together. It wasn't just, hey, by the way, we grabbed it off the internet and this is the new thing.
I'm telling you in my experience, okay?
But yours was in business, and I think that's the
No,
part.
no, I'm talking about in my experience of filling out that tool, which I gave our superintendent, my numbers at the end were highly effective. Okay. However, I have had several different issues that do not portray, in my mind, the same successful level of a leader. And I'm not making things up. I've got personal things that I've had conversations with and stuff. And so it's not that it's not an example in reality driven. That's my experience of what happened here. And that is why I may have graded, or I did grade it like this. Okay, so I'm not saying that, the evaluation tool is wrong. I'm just saying it does not encompass
It
everything.
doesn't meet your definition of a leader, if I can.
Right, exactly.
So
And
you might think a leader would be George Patton. That would be.
No.
I just picked up for that.
Yeah, it could be, I mean, I'm not talking about specific traits or anything like that right here. I'm just saying that was my experience in doing this process. And I spent a lot of time on it. If I was trying to come to a determination on my own, I would have found a way to rate him, if that's what I was trying to do, ineffective on that too, but I didn't. I did it, honestly, consciously, putting, a lot of thought into it, and that's where I came up.
Yeah, that tool was developed, because we used to use all sorts of tools. And one time was so to be consistent for all superintendents, and that's why there's 2 or 3 that are approved by the state of Michigan that we can use for the evaluation process. There's that MASB tool, I think 5D is the other one. Is it 5D or 5D is the other one. But part of that was so there was too many. I think that was the reason that was coming is simply measurable by the fact these are the criteria based upon what they gathered from knowledge everywhere.
Right,
And
and Frank, I've said several times here this evening, I think that in so many areas, our superintendent does a remarkable job. There's some areas where I have some concern, And so that's the reason.
Okay. And I guess that's where the thing is, this 4-3 is.
Frank, can I step in?
Yeah,
So,
go
I
ahead.
mean,
I mean, you guys don't.
no. So, I mean, our meeting where we went over and we're working with Dr. Vanderbeck on this goal went off the rails a bit.
Yeah.
And, oh, you saw that one?
I saw that one. That was 3 hours, 45 minutes.
Yep. So one of the things that struck me as I walked out of that meeting is we never asked Dr. Vanderbeck how we can support him better.
Yes.
It was all of us talking for 3 hours and 45 minutes, yet the individual who we're tasked to support and evaluate was not a part of that discussion at all. So I think, it kind of goes both ways. We need to do a better job of fostering that trust and that communication.
You're right.
Feels-
Because they're the ones that gotta buy into the goals. It's like when you sit down and work through an evaluation and your boss doesn't ask you how you're gonna fix this, and then tells you how you're gonna fix it. What do you think is your chances of success because they told you versus you bought into it? I mean, we teach our kids to buy into what we tell, there's times we say, yes, but to get them to buy in, we gotta provide a process, even at work. What are some ways you can increase X to do this? One of you are a motivational, right? Speaker, it's on your website or something, somewhere out there.
I think we need to go back a little bit. If we're gonna talk about the SMART goals. For the first time, trying to follow the process that MASB has identified, we have not done that.
It is tough.
Trying
agree.
to follow the process.
We did those SMART goals, we just didn't
Well,
state some out.
Well, so on Friday, when the board briefs or whatever came out, I brought up for the agenda, I thought, we have to talk about your SMART goals, we have to talk about the starting the evaluation. And I have resistance that is given. And, we're not looking for a lot of SMART goals, looking for 1 or 2.
That's it.
Dr. Vanderjack came back with 5, both Nick and I saw them and gave feedback. This isn't quite what we're looking for, but yet that's what was sent to the entire board. And I guess maybe at that point I should have said, we're taking it off the agenda, because this isn't what we were looking for. And it just kind of derailed, because it wasn't what, when we had Jay come in, the SMART goals are not things, at least my understanding, are not things that you're currently working on. Stretch goals, what do we want to see more of that we're not seeing now?
Correct.
And that's not what we were given. So I'm trying to look at it different, trying to follow the process, and I feel like I'm given, like I receive resistance.
Yeah, but sometimes, okay, so I'm not an employee of MASB, so I like to talk about it. Sometimes MASB comes out with this kumbaya feeling and all that, and I think it's about, when I think about it, it's non-strategic, it's to me, it's the issue I sometimes have with SMART goals is what is the strategic plan? And so why are we gonna put more, to me, it's about more personal goals that he would want to accomplish than it is, but even then, I question that still, because you judge him based upon his evaluation, is not, when you go through that thing, it's not judged, there's no judgment about what is SMART goals or anything else, we go to the evaluation, there's no spot for SMART goals on there. It's all about how you do your strategic plan, and that's where I think there's a disconnect, and it isn't because he wants to be disconnected, in my opinion, it's just that there's too many, I'm trying to figure out where SMART goals fit.
There's a place for superintendent goals.
Okay.
That place can be interpreted as, district strategic planning.
Yeah.
It can also be interpreted as, well, in addition to these things the district is working on, there are these particular areas that the superintendent says, I want to create some particular focus on this. It may be overlap some strategic planning goals, it may be completely separate. I think it's fair to say oftentimes there's overlap. But there is that space on the form that allows for that,
For that blend, because And to me, it's gotta be measured, they're gotta be measurable to make smart goals, but I think some of the things
But
are.
you're told no more than 1 or 2.
Right.
Not 5.
How, he's a high achiever.
We're going to-
No, but it comes back down to, I don't think it comes down to any of the trust. You know, the thing is, how, you guys got an issue here that you gotta work with. Because you guys, right now, you got one of the highest performing, probably in about 3 counties, you guys are in one of the highest performing districts in 3 counties. I don't know how you can't knock that. I mean, that says a lot. And to find someone that can manage 55, 6,800 students, 1,000 staff members, that's even harder to find effectively.
Right, and at some point, and we read the comments, there's comments in there.
Yeah, we're going
At some point, you have to say, okay, we've rated highly effective, 6 to 1, rated highly effective. And there could be some discussion around that, but it's a tool, and I actually think it's a pretty effective tool. I mean, we can disagree on that, I respect your, but having done many evaluations myself, I think it's a pretty good tool. So we rated them, the district is high performing, as you pointed out, Frank, many times in many areas. The team is high performing, the teaching, and that all starts with a high performing leader.
Right.
And so this is one of the fundamental, and one of the crux of the issues that we have here. So to have this either overtone or undertone of, I'm going to trust you, or I'm going to too tightly manage you, or something, that's what we're grappling with. To me, at some point we go, okay, we got to get on board. We have a high-performing district, a high-performing, as measured by the board, superintendent, high-performing staff, high-performing teachers. So
and it's normal to want to do better. So I want to.
You always want to do better.
You always want to do better. You want because someone's trying to catch up with you and somehow say that. But at some point, you guys gotta just say, recognize, I'm already winning the game.
Right.
If I'm already winning the game, how do I keep winning?
Right. And there may be some things we can do to enhance communication. I think we've got some good discussion tonight, and maybe tighten up some communication areas. But this notion that there's this
And the very first,
integrity, all
right,
this
the very
stuff
first
that
comment,
is just not.
it is the crux of something we dealt with over the last 3 or 4 years. And one of my comments in the very beginning, that I hope that after this evaluation, we can move on. But clearly, this individual still carries with him whatever he felt personally, and in my opinion, has not been willing to see the changes that have been made. And that becomes very difficult if that individual does not agree to move on.
I don't know what else to say other than you guys, if I just put a report card up against everybody else, and we keep throwing districts after district after district, I don't think you realize how good you got it. And sometimes we dig when we just gotta nurture and grow.
And to your point, Art, maybe there's some compromise. I personally do not have an issue with the 5 goals. I think they're good, solid, but maybe there's some compromise on that we can move forward with. But so again, communication and some of the things we talked about as a board. This isn't about the superintendent's evaluation again. This is about the board behavior. So let's focus on that. But part of that board behavior is we have to move on with our superintendent. Who's does an outstanding job.
Because what's happening is, again, how do you stop all this comment? That's part of it. And when we talked about it, you gotta, I had to explain to someone that someday you just gotta go and say, that's it. I'm gonna start here, and this is where I'm going. And I can keep looking over that, and it's not gonna change. And I've said some things, or done some things, I'm not real proud of, but I gotta go this way, and I gotta go ahead and just move forward. And you guys gotta make that decision. That's in here. And that might be as simple as stupid as it may sound. Just go back to that 7-0 vote. Again, that's where you say, hey, we wanna let everybody know we're in support of our staff and superintendent, you just gotta say it, You guys, I can show you some really bad districts, and you guys would just, if you wanna go to the thumb, in some cities up there, that what they go through is pretty tough, to be where you guys are at right now and have. I've lost some teachers to you guys. I'm not happy about that. I can't, and because they like it, because it's here. I was impressed by, I don't know if you guys even paid attention to how many teachers actually have students that are in your district. It is just blowing my mind away. That means they believe in it. We're at 3%. 3%. We have 100 staff, that's 3 teachers. So, I mean, but I think you guys gotta figure out that you guys gotta make decisions start, and hey, we gotta get out of here. Because it's a changing world, and you don't wanna be caught out there in another election, who knows what's gonna go on with that. There's a lot of anger there, so. So I think we could, some of these communications things, one of the things, I don't wanna keep beating dead horse, communication was fine. I don't want to keep beating dead horse on 8 o'clock, and it's not because I don't want to stay longer, so I have no problem staying here all day. But I think some of the things we talked about tonight, use that 7-0 voter you have to control, go ahead and start from today. Man, because you guys all said you were respecting each other. We got somewhere today, so that's great. Just do it. Do it. I mean, there's a reason for the Nike thing. Just do it. There's, I don't know if any of you guys remember a cartoon, it's, and when I'm gonna ask you guys to take it, like, you guys will look at it later, it's when Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck dresses up like Bugs Bunny. And this dog grabs Daffy Duck, and he's dressed up like Bugs Bunny, he says, I will name him George, and we'll pat him and squeeze him and hold him, and I will make him look, be forever mine. And he treats, so that's what I'm asking you guys to do. Grab onto this, and it's yours forever. You guys got to create a legacy that people look back 20 years from now and say, that was the best damn board I've ever seen that school ever have. And they lay out the tools and did the necessary things to help my board 20 years from now run as effectively as we are. And if you can't say that, you shouldn't be on the board. Pretty simple. But you want to create a legacy that starts here. And if that's tonight, that's the most important thing you can do. And all you can do is go forward from there. Because you know what? You're going to be in those kumbaya world too. And that's those rules that are going to come back and save you. Because times always get bad. All the time. And you just got to have those tools and that legacy to do that. And just don't listen to the noise out there. How many of you have, I'm going to use that kitty litter thing, how many had kitty litters and how many got calls from parents about kitty litter in their rooms? I was up at Saranac and I asked them, I said, I understand you have kitty litter in your room. And they said, geez, you heard about it too? I said, no, I just came up with it. I just thought I'd see if you guys are, it just was amazing where it can go. But, being a leader isn't popular, not running popular. It's not about homecoming queen. It's just about doing the right thing. It's cooler than heck. It's the best job in the world.
Frank, I want to say, all of us are here believing we're doing the right thing.
I know that.
Okay, yeah. And I'm not going to leave this meeting today. I mean, I appreciate the opportunity for feedback and all of us to discuss these things. But my principles haven't changed when I walked in here at 5 o'clock till 8 o'clock. They haven't, and they aren't going to. And there's things that we're going to disagree on.
Which is fine.
So the kumbaya moments, those are nice. Those would be wonderful. But if we have disagreements, we need to disagree with respect.
Correct.
And that's what I'm working for.
Yeah, you can never give up your integrity and principles. Right?
Exactly. And absolutely, positively. And I appreciate that, but a lot of the issues that I had, the issues haven't changed at all. Me walking in here and walking out of here. I do appreciate the feedback that we got from everybody. And I truly, I can't, I won't use the word enjoy, but I truly, believe that everybody in this room is acting out of what's best for the kids. And any 4-3 votes, you know, I as long as people are, you know, voting their conscience and their principles and those types of things, and have data to back it up. So,
And that's true, I agree with that from a board standpoint. Again, the broader issue that we're dealing with is this supporting of the superintendent and the need to move on as the governing board of the district to say we support the individual who's running the district. It's a highly effective individual, and yes, there may be disagreements on certain votes. I agree with you, and I think that's okay. I don't think there needs to be 7-0 votes on everything. You know, the vast majority of our votes are 7-0. I know there's a conversation around we have too many for them. We don't. We have a few. But we have to get a line behind the superintendent, the staff, and the teachers to move forward as a district. And that's not a vote thing. It may translate into a vote. It's the support of the administrative team that we have in this district. That's what we as leaders do, and as a governing body does.
It's okay to challenge.
It's okay to challenge. There's nothing wrong with challenge. We should challenge. We need to hold our superintendent accountable. Not saying we don't do that, but this, oh, I don't, that is tearing us apart. That's what we have to move on.
So back to closing, so you do have the ability, you know, like I said, for the motion thing. For me personally, the reason I started out, because I looked, just the Pledge of Allegiance is, that's why you guys got elected. You were able to elect people. You know, and that to me should start every board meeting. I was totally surprised, and I would strongly encourage you guys to include that as how you start your meeting, because that is something that pulls everybody together. We are all Americans, right? And that's something that I feel very strongly, because sometimes it pulls everybody, it's just the idea of pulling everybody back together again. We have our flaws, but it's still who we are. And that's why we're here. We gotta take a vote, you know. And then anything else, do the team building stuff, where you get those board norms, go through it. When you sign them, that's signed. I mean, that means you're gonna abide by those. That's your constitution. You know, how many laws have you seen go in front of the you know, for our safekeeping constitution, they are still upheld today because some people signed them back in the 1700s. You know, that's what that is. So you should have the same weight when you sign your name to that they did back then. I mean, you signed your name, live by it, you know, act it, and then build your legacy. You guys gotta get together. You know, start today as round zero and, you know, just move forward. So, okay. Any questions? You can fire me, don't ask me back. Yeah, that's fine.
No, very helpful.
Thank you very
much.
much for taking time to be with us this evening.
Oh, you're welcome.
Appreciate it.
I enjoyed it.
All right, we will do a roundtable. I will start with Mr. Hall.
Nothing, also.
Also,
All right, I will take a motion for adjournment.
I will not.
All in favor, say aye.
Can you guys just go through, put a check mark next to your name or change the title, double check your email? Sorry about that. That's what you had.